Hello, Andrew.
Hello, Keith.
Thank you so much for doing this. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for inviting me. It sounds like a good time, so I'm excited.
Yeah. We met because of the project that we're working on, Rev.
Yeah, yes, Rev. Yeah, it's an interesting project, and it's a project that fell on my lap. It's not something that to be honest, I've not been into the entrepreneurial world before.
Okay.
So what happened was it was my brother. He's a musician, and he had a studio, so his friends would come, and then when they have shows, it was just the same old people that you see over and over again. And the idea was, okay, these guys need help. And then I went on market research asking random questions, and I realized, oh wait, this is not only their problem. Everybody has that problem. Venues have that problem. So then from there, it was like a Frankenstein of problems and solutions and trying to fix it all together. And from fixing it all together, it made sense, but then explaining it sounded so difficult. So now I have to go back and do that homework of making the front facing look as easy as possible.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, we got there. We got
What
there with
did what did you try originally? How long have you been doing this project now?
ooh, maybe 10, 11 years now.
Wow.
Yeah, so when I first started, the first idea basically came from a problem and me trying to solve it. And then as soon as it's solved, now the most important thing was to figure out how to know if there's a market for it. So I did a market research that was in 2015, and we reached 190 countries with just an MVP I did with WordPress. So when that happened, I was like, oh, okay, we've hit a jackpot here with something. And when I speak to artists and venues, they're like, whoa, yeah, we would love something like this. From there, I kept in contact with most of the venues. Sadly, some of them kind of like closed, but they would give me ideas. Hey, what if this? What if we try this? Because this will help us so much. Oh, hey, we're having issues here. What can you do to get that going? And then from there, we wanted to create a real MVP to test the market.
Which
And
is a
what we did,
minimal viable product.
yeah. So the minimal viable product, we wanted to test the market. And what we did, it kind of got big too fast. We had like people in Brazil who were interested. That was a media company in Brazil that are very interested in, still interested in like collaborating and franchising the business in Brazil per se, because they work with big uh, labels and everything, but then they don't have a market or a system to help their local artists grow. And that's one of the things they want to see happen in Brazil. And then we have a few people in the U.S. who are interested as well, and then which is leading from the with the U.S. connects leading to Europe and Africa. So it's quite a big system, and our biggest fear was fucking it up. And sorry if I could use that
Oh
word.
yeah, no,
Yeah.
it's all good.
So our biggest fear was fucking it up with having a mediocre thing that would ruin such an opportunity that not only for us for but for the artists that are excited and see a future through Rev as well. So that is why it took so long, and also 3 years of having to deal with a lot of setbacks. That's what 3 years of setbacks was something that occurred, but I always feel is always according to plan. Everything happens with purpose. We cannot throw purpose out the window because things are inconvenient. Like people always say, people always put good purpose when it's going the way they want it to, and then put bad luck when it's not going the way they want it to. And for me, it was something I had to learn and deal with and understand. So, yeah, I think everything good or bad has purpose in it.
Were you in technology before that?
No, no, I was graphic. Okay, yeah, maybe a little bit, but I was in graphic designs. I'm a graphic designer, and I did a little bit of animation because I did arts. So I was never in technology before that, and most of the technology, everything I had to learn, um, was the name as I went. So I had a lot of errors in the first what market go to market research thing, but to me it didn't matter because that was not it, and my mindset at the time was I didn't expect it to be anything serious because my mentality was, oh, it's gonna be for local people anyway, so it's not that serious. And
Yeah.
then and then when I realized, oh wait, this is more serious than I anticipated. Now I have to go out there and actually make it put more effort in. And that's when I was like, okay, my efforts are more my skill grew more in the like business dev, collaborative aspect. So I was like, okay, then it's important for me to get somebody who would be good at the technical because I know with my experience, the technical is going to be one of the hardest things to not only create but maintain because maintaining it is very, very important.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
So now you, like me, live in Canada,
yes,
but you weren't born in Canada.
no, no.
Where did you grow up?
Okay, so I was born in Tema, and so life was quite interesting. So I was born in Tema, but I grew up in Ashama, which is in Ghana.
Okay.
Um,
Where's Tena?
and Ghana, West Africa.
No, Tena. Where's Tena?
Tema is
Tema.
Tema. Yeah,
Okay.
it's 30 minutes away from the capital, Accra.
Okay.
And Ashama is also 20 minutes away from Tema.
Okay.
Ashama is one of the biggest slums in Ghana, if not the biggest slum. So yeah, we growing up there was quite interesting. It was how do I say it? It was quite a great and learning curve for a kid like me at the time. But also, I knew that at that time it wasn't really a safe environment to grow up in. There was a lot of you know gangs and everything like that. There was a lot of things going on there, so it wasn't a safe environment. And I knew um, at the time I didn't think it was a good thing for me mentally. But when I became like 6, I was taken away to boarding school in the Volta region, which my parents are from. Um, so it was Denu. I was there for from that age to what was it 14 before I came to Canada.
So what does
13.
that mean you were taken away? Can you restart it like so before 6 years old, were you growing
Yeah,
up in Tema then or were you in
I
the
was
other
growing up in Ashama then. Yeah,
in Ashama? Okay.
yeah, yeah.
And what was life like then before you were 6 years old?
It was tough. Cause uh,
Like what's your
we
environment like? Like how what kind of house did you live in? Did you have access to, a lot of amenities that you have access to now?
oh no, no, I grew up in a one room
Okay.
with my siblings. It was my mom. Um, and even the one room wasn't that big. Maybe a 300 square foot room, maybe smaller. Um, and we all had to you know, like they had a little straw mat that me and my sibling would sleep on. Mom would sleep on the bed, and then luckily my dad left to Canada the year before I was born. So he didn't see me, and I didn't see him for a while. And yeah, so growing up in that environment was quite interesting because my mom had to work extra hard just so that we can get food. Some days we'll go without food, and there was this interesting hack that she always did, and it was always interesting. Is she would pretend and put food on a fire, not real like, and then pretend she's cooking something, because that idea of seeing food, something being cooked makes your hunger go away a little bit, right? So that is one of the interesting parts that always stuck with me. And also, in order for us to get more money, me and my older brother at the time, I'm sure he was like, when I was 3, 4, he was maybe 9 or 10 years old. So we went to find wood from some old carpenters, and then made some boxes so we can get some shoe shine equipment, and then we walk around the town shining people's shoes so we can have some extra cash, uh so we can give to mom so that she can have something to feed us
How old
for
were you when you were doing that?
uh yeah, maybe 3, 4 with my brother. And I remember because um going to boarding school kind of forced me to keep those memories as well, right? um so yeah, around those times, yeah, before I know we did it more than that also, because when I was uh when I was also like 5, we kept doing it. So I know we've been going shoe shining for like maybe 2, 3 years. um
And what's that place around surrounding you growing up like? Was it a large city or was it a town?
it was a large it was a large it wasn't, I wouldn't say a city. It was a large town. So we walk around a lot. Like, we'll go places that people don't know us. So we'll walk for like hours and hours.
Can you describe like so you said you had a one room kind of house. Can you
Yeah.
describe what that looks like and how close are you to other people in that house? Like if it was kind of a city, are you guys kind of all on top of each other or is it a little more rural as someone, like me would describe it?
No, everybody's on top of it, like a real close slum. Like, everybody's almost on top of each other. Everybody has uh
So what was the
uh
house made up of if it's a slum?
uh ours was made of brick, which is good. And then some people had what's the name? Some people had like iron sheets, the iron sheets that they make of
Like the
roof.
corrugated metal?
Yeah, and then some people are made of wood, which we used to call tabo, right? A tabo house, or tabo dying, which is tabo house, like a wooden house. By the time also, now it's worse, but before, when I was growing up, there was still a little bit of more space so that we can play soccer and do all what kids do. But now it's like congested because there's more people coming in and more people are building. So sometimes you might see a house on the top of another house. But before then, it wasn't that bad. But for us, we had a one room that we were renting. Um, and it was basically like a compound kind of building complex where
Okay.
everybody has like one room. So there were kids that grew up with me there as well.
So you had to
And
rent that place? It wasn't something you just go and build somewhere? Like you had to.
no, no, no. The wooden ones you have to rent.
Okay.
The brick ones you have to rent, but the wooden ones and everything, you could just build it anywhere.
So people just come in and just say, "Hey, this is an empty spot. I'm going to start
Yeah,
building."
yeah, yes.
And there's no
So,
like
well, I'm
nobody
sure
there to
now it's
tell
changed.
them not to do it. There's nobody there regulating it. There's like
Uh, I was too young to know, so I don't
okay.
really know how it went, but that's how it was for us. But also, I also think we were in a expanding section as well. So as the city was expanding, we were like getting to that outskirts as well. Because then when you walked for like 20 minutes from our place to this, walked east. I think yeah, if you walked east for 20 minutes, you're gonna see this new like plot of land that was creating a, how do you call those, gated community, right? So there was a gated community coming up with modern roads and everything like that. So,
How long ago was this?
oh, oh man, I'm I'm 33 now, so
It's like
Uh,
90s.
yeah, yeah. So late 90s. Yeah. So yeah, it was a interesting point of growing up because it was norm for everybody to struggle, so it wasn't just us, right? So as a kid, you just see it as
So
the
did you
norm.
guys have like a central well or water or anything like that to get water access to?
But there were some people who had pipes, right?
Okay, so there was running
So
water in some
yeah,
people's
so there
houses.
was running water, but not for everybody. So what you did was you get a bucket and then you take the bucket. Sometimes it's like maybe lucky for us it was like a 5 minute walk from us. Some people have to walk longer. So you take a bucket and then you give them like maybe uh one CD or something like that, and then they pour the water on there. Then you carry it home, and then we had like a big
What's a CD? Like,
that's a currency.
okay.
Yeah. So we had a big barrel that we pour the water in. So the barrel is quite interesting, very innovative. I don't think it's safe now, but basically they pour the barrel, and then to prevent rust and everything going in, they use black tar to coat the inside, right? I don't know if that was safe, but hey. So we had that in the room as well. So the room was pretty cramped. Um,
How many of
and
you were living in the one room?
at the time it was seven, seven of us, and then my older siblings started like trying to find other places to stay because they just felt like it was just too cramped. So
And was this like your mother and your brothers and sisters all living there, or was it other
yes,
people?
no, just us.
So how
Just
many brothers and do you have? How many brothers and sisters do you have then?
I have a lot on
Yeah.
both sides. So my dad has had like multiple wives, and my mom had another husband before she did my dad. So or before she married my dad. So in total, maybe like 15 or more.
Wow.
Yeah, I know. So, but for my mom, that was on my side, so it was like seven of us there. It was it was a good time. Without the struggling, you don't think about it because like you have friends. As soon as you wake up, you're not in the room, so you don't think about the room, right? You don't think about the space you're living in. As soon as you're outside, and since it's a communal space, you have other kids that come outside and play as well. So you don't think about it that way.
It's just
Um,
more of a place to sleep
yes, more of
and
a
eat.
place to sleep. Yeah, sleep, eat. So you don't think about it, but after leaving there, it's not like it got going to boarding school. It's not like it got better because
Why
the
did
board.
you end up? What's that story? Like, how did you end up in boarding school? What happened?
So when my dad came, like went to came to Canada. That was in the 90s, right? Um, and then as soon as he came in, he wanted us to have a good education, which is fair. So when he came, he just took four of us. So my other two brothers, my half brothers from the side, and then my brother and I, took they took us there, and I was the youngest at the time. Um, and obviously, I'm still growing up, so I don't know how to take care of myself. Obviously, right?
You were
So
six.
yeah, yeah. So when that happened, and we went there, basically, I think everybody got felt some type of way about how everything, because we were all young. Like I think the oldest at the time was also just maybe 13, right?
Okay.
13, 14, or even younger than that. I think he might be younger than that. When we all got there, was it became a sense of fend for yourself. And after we got there, it was like a kind of semi neglect.
At the boarding school.
Yeah, yeah. But it got worse for me when my other brothers left because as soon as they all left, then it just became like nobody came to visit. I didn't have the first the clothes I had when I first got there because they sold us all clothes. That was the clothes, and basically I'm growing, right?
So what? How did that happen? Like, so you're at your house, and
Yeah.
then all of a sudden, did your dad just come back and say, "Hey, you're going to boarding school," or did someone else come and get you, or?
Someone else came to get us, and I had no idea what was happening because I guess I was a kid then. Nobody told, or even my brothers didn't know. And then later on, I came to find out my mom didn't know what was going on.
So was that kind of traumatic? Like people just came, "Hey, you're just coming with us," and you didn't even know what's happening.
Yeah, at the time, yeah, because even till now, I still like at the time. Now I'm over it, but before then, I still used to wonder like how did how did that happen? Where I'm just taken away as a young kid. Um, yeah, it was super traumatic because I remember crying every night to bed, like for maybe 2 years straight. So it was because that's when I started feeling, um, that's when I started having a sense of having and not haves. So it's like having parents, but not like feeling like you don't have, right? Having, because now my dad came here, he started doing well for himself. So everybody assumes, okay, yeah, your parents are well off or your dad is well off. But I still had to borrow uniforms for the whole 8 years I was there from my friends, right? Um, Even when there's holiday, vacation, nobody comes to pick me up, and I have to travel by myself. Uh, and I started traveling by myself when I was, because my brothers were there for 4 years. So basically, I was like 9, 10. I had to start traveling by myself for hours. And that's quite dangerous. And I remember one time there was a vacation, and um, the day came, everybody, I was there. Their parents came to pick them up and everything, and I was stuck in the school for 2 weeks, 2 3 weeks. Starving obviously because there's no food anymore. Um, so after vacation is over, they bring food for I think 2 days, and then after that, there's no more food. So one of the teachers came back, and they were like, "Hey, why are you still here?" And I'm like, "Oh, nobody came to pick me up." So he gave me money and then said, "Can you go home?" I'm like, "Yes." So on that journey home, there was this lady. She was in the bus with me, which we call Trotro. Um, she saw and then she broke bread and tried to give me, and I was like, no, because I can't take food from strangers. But that aspect taught me so much because it's like it took peers like me to make my life like easier. It didn't take money. It didn't take the concept of family, right? So having that understanding is what shaped my mentality because it's like I've come to understand that it doesn't take, how do I even say, it doesn't take money or it doesn't take thing. All it takes is effort and people knowing you have effort with you. Because as soon as you do, people are willing to help you. Like my friend will go home and then pretend, oh, they always steal his uniform, and then his parents will sew him three separate uniforms, and then he'll give me one, and that's how I was able to keep that going. And he did that for years. So it was something that I needed to understand, and it got me to a point where I had to learn. how to stand my ground and be myself without having to, how do I say, without having to stoop so somebody can find pity or find value. Because I always felt like that is so important. No matter how low somebody is, dignity is deserved in everybody,
Yes.
right? And not just from other people giving it to you, but from yourself as well. And that was one of the biggest aspects for me in all those years. And even to be honest, even when my brothers were there, it wasn't easy because also they were upset and they were young and they didn't know how to direct their emotions, so they put it on me, right? So, so also them being there, I was still alienated. So you start to see, or you start to feel like, okay, the concept of this things happening should have driven me into a point of bitterness or anger or whatever it is.
That'd be
But
definitely an easy route to go.
pardon? Yeah,
That would
it's the
def
easiest.
Yeah.
It is the easiest route to go, and nobody can say anything because then you have an excuse, right? You have an excuse to be angry. You have an excuse to, but it taught me something else. It was more. That's why I would say God is the best teacher because it was a space where I had no distractions. I could be in my head, and most of the times is the worst place to be.
I can actually relate to your story a little bit.
Mm.
You're kind of lived an extreme version of my childhood, but I never knew my
Oh,
parents
love to
growing
hear
up.
it.
So I grew up in foster homes and group homes, but I
Mm.
lived with a foster family. I mean, growing up in Canada, it's definitely not the same struggle, but growing up without my family, it's the same sort of thing where I had parents, but I still had a sense of, missing something because they weren't my real
Mm.
family. But I grew up with them until I was 10 years old. And then, due to one of the other foster kids locking me in the basement and setting the house on fire, they lost everything. They lost all their house. I almost died. So I got moved to a group home. And that night that I was taken from them, I didn't know what was going on. It was very similar. Reminds me a lot of my own story when you were talking about being taken and put into the boarding school. So I got moved to the group home and I cried more. Like, that was the worst feeling ever. Like, that night was just like, it actually was a thunderstorm. So there was this kind of like poetic fallacy or whatever they call it, where the rain and the storm and everything was matching my emotions perfectly. So I was like up all night, bawling my eyes out, and I cried every night for weeks to put myself to sleep because I was just
Yeah,
like,
it's the easiest way to do it. It
yeah,
just is easier.
yeah. Instead of actually, trying to gain some sort of fortitude, which you obviously gained from a very young age.
Like, it's you. How do I even say? You have no option but to, you
Right.
know.
Yeah. What are you going to do? Just crawl in a corner and die is the
Yeah.
option, right?
No. So that's the thing, and yeah, sorry that got to me. Your story got to me too because you know, yeah, it's
I can relate, but it's not in the same level. I mean, I was never without food. I was never without clothes. The government here took care of me. So it's definitely not the same struggle, but I can relate a little. I can feel what you're feeling when you move to the boarding house. I can definitely empathize with you for sure.
yeah, and it wasn't, and that's the thing. It wasn't in the boarding house, and I think the struggle there was way worse than the struggle I had when I was working to help us get food.
Which is
And
crazy because you're supposed to be put there as a helping thing, not a make it worse
yes,
thing, right?
yes. But it became worse because I didn't have a towel. I had to use the same cloth that I was using to sleep to wipe myself. The the bed I had got so worn down that I was basically sleeping on bare metal because the beds were metal and then they had like chains. So I was basically sleeping on chains. Um, yeah, it was so interesting because I I had so much illness. I had so many ailments on me. So every day, some days I'll wake up and I know it's gonna sound weird, but I thank my body because I'm like, dude, you took me out through all this stuff, you know?
That doesn't sound weird at all. So what happened during then? So you arrive there, you have some family who's also living there with you, but it doesn't feel like it maybe, right? Is that what was
No,
going
I
on?
never did. Because also they're going through their grief, right? And one thing I've come to understand is sometimes when people are going through their grief, they channel to the weakest or something that they don't want to feel, right? So for me, I was showcasing weakness because I was a kid, and I'm sure they hated to see that because then it shows them that they're hiding something. So they take it out on me at the time. So it was quite tough. So, but then when they left, because they graduated them because it was a middle school, and uh, when I got there, I started kindergarten, obviously. So it was a middle school to from kindergarten to middle school. Um, and then from there, it was quite interesting because like I had a thing that happened to me where there were like was it parasites in my foot, and luckily I was the school kind of harassed my family to come, which they actually took a while to, and they had to take me to the doctors, and the doctor had to open my leg just so he could get that stuff out. He said crazy because it could have been way worse, could have been something else. So I thank God for that. Uh, had some like flesh eating things on me for a while. So it wasn't just dealing with that per se, but also dealing with how to, you know, communicate with my peers and make sure that I don't stand place of from a place of vulnerability. I still have to stand strong, even if I need something or I need them to provide me with something. And it taught me how to, still be of dignity while seeking, you know, assistance from somebody. Nowadays, I think about, I'm like, you know what? It's great that I went through that as well because those kind of lessons you don't learn unless you're pushed through the fire. And also taught me a lot about just because there is an abundance of something doesn't mean that abundance is for you. It just taught me that you can't seek external comforts because those external comfort might not be there, right? And having to be in my head for all those years, having to grow in my head and question myself, ask myself why, just made me understand that it's always going to be an internal journey for me. And yeah, it was so much, but it was something that I see now, and I see that we all we all always have something, especially growing up, all of humanity will always have one thing in common. And I think that one thing in common is how we all connect one way or the other. It's it's
So
great.
what was a typical day for you like in the what was it called, the boarding house?
Yeah, in the boarding house. So the boarding house is quite interesting because they had like students that go home. They call them the day students, right? They just
Okay.
come in the day and then they go home. And then for you, the boarding student, you have to wake up. And this was even when I was little. I have to wake up at like 4:30, right? Do chores around the place. Um, have a shower. Um, get prepared for school, and then after that, you have your morning breakfast. Um, and then you
Was
have your
food more available for you during school time then? Like, was that provided for you?
yes. We had during school time we had wasn't it? We had like breakfast. It would be like porridge, and then afternoon time it would be like lunch. I can't remember the food sometimes. The thing is dinner, but also it's like first come first serve. So if you're not there early, you might miss out. Yeah, sometimes it's just a struggle, like a fight. But
Was your dad paying for you to be there at, or was that government sponsored?
no, he was paying. So I was kind of surprised that they didn't have any updates on what's going on. Or, like, I guess it was more like, okay, the school says school fees. And I think it's because it's general, because everybody had to go to school one way or the other. So everybody had to get their school fees, right?
So you wake
Um,
up, you get some breakfast, and then do you have to attend classes? Was that every day, or did you
yeah,
have days
every day.
off?
Like, and then Sunday you go to like church or something.
Okay.
So yeah, so I've for 8 years, and it's a highly Christian school. So I've been like taught, read over and over because your form of entertainment is reading, right? So any book you could read, you get into it. And the Bible is one of the books that I read a lot because that was the already available book that we had most of the time at the time. So it 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 taught me a lot, and I think the good thing
What language was your Bible in?
English.
It was?
English is our primary language.
Okay.
So it
Like
was
even
English.
before you went to the boarding school, you were speaking English and
Yes, I was very fluent in English. I For some reason I was highly gifted when it comes to like picking up things, language, math, whatever it is. I was an academically gifted person even when I was young. Um, Even my mom makes this joke. She said when I was like 2 years old, I came to her one time and I was like, "Oh, I'm hungry for food." And she's like, "How did you come up with that?" And I was like, "God," because we mainly don't speak English at home. She was kind of taken back by that.
what language did you speak at home?
So we speak Ewe.
Elway?
Ewe, Ewe. So it's the Ewe people from Ghana, but we're like in Ghana, Togo, Benin, and then some parts of Nigeria. It's a spread out cultural set. Um,
So at the
yeah,
boarding school though you were it was primarily Christian, so was it like a white teacher who came there? Was he somebody who was like a missionary or something?
no.
Okay.
We are very indoctrinated to Christianity there. So it was always black people. Our church, we had to like we had to travel to churches. There were ministries across the town there. So we'll just walk there all in line to make sure we get there on time. So it was it was good. Like I really, apart from all of those things, I really enjoyed it because it taught me to become who I am. I'm more confident, and people wonder where that confidence come from. And They think it's because I have something external attached to me, and then when people come to realize, oh wait, his confidence is not external. I'm like, hey, if you went through what I went through and came out the way I came out, not having anger, not having remorse, not having any emotional negativity towards anybody or anything, I'm I would that would make me confident. That's why I'm super confident because I always feel like I've gone through the fire with this thing. So there's no way anybody can throw that out.
I've already
So
been through the worst.
yeah. So like what more can I like so anything I go through, I just say, hey. And people just say they're like, why are you always happy? And I'm like, buddy, uh, it's part of it. I enjoy being happy now. So
So you wake up in the morning around 4:30. Do you have like chores to do before?
yes, you got to sweep the whole like it was a big beach sandy compound because we're close to the sea. Um, and most of the school was is made out of wood, right? So it's not like I don't know how to even put it. It's just like two pillar woods, right? Like long pillar woods, and then they have like two wooden planks covering. So it's like a mini fence, and that's how the school was at the time.
And
And
then
then
you'd get your breakfast, and then would they start classes pretty early?
yes, school starts at 6,
Okay.
and then you go to assembly. I used to also like drum as well. So I'll do the assembly drumming. We played soccer here and there. So we still did the school activities. We had a computer class. That's where I learned computers, and then that's how I realized, okay, I enjoy computers as well. So it wasn't that bad of a school. They were growing. I think now they'll be much more updated, and I thank God because the first time like staying there was just not. I still have the photos of how it looked like, so it just makes me think like it wasn't good. The open water, like I had ringworms all over. I just wasn't sanitary at the time. I got sick to a point. Yeah, it should have been. Yeah, it was a tough time, but I think just growing up with my peers for all those years really helped a lot. It helped me um, become somebody, right? I was considered popular then, and then after that, I became the entertainment prefect at the time. So it's all full circle,
Yeah.
right? So
So
I
would you guys
became,
break for lunch and then maybe go outside and play for a bit and then come
well,
back to school? No.
you can never go outside. You're fenced in,
Oh, okay.
right? You're fenced in. Um,
Is that to protect you guys?
uh, I'm sure it was. I'm definitely sure it was.
Because was
But
there
for us,
like gangs kind of out near
no, no, no.
you? Like,
This is like this is not a Shamai anymore, right? So this is like the news, a much more quiet town. It's not a
oh,
big,
okay.
right? So this was Denu in the Volta region. And it was a much more quiet town, much more peaceful. But also, I get where they're coming from because it's like other people's kids, and they don't want things to happen. But they always try to do activities where they take us outside. But
Well,
it's
when
like
was like the schooling time over every day? Was that?
it was like 3 o'clock, but
And
yeah,
then what
three
would you
o'clock.
do after that?
Oh, sheesh. After that, we eat, we do some chores, and then we go study till
Oh,
like
still
8
school.
o'clock. Yeah, we still school. Like I'll say we school with breaks in between from 4 to 8.
Okay.
Yeah, it was just study, study, study.
And then what was the evening like? Did you guys kind of hang out together or?
You had like 30 minutes to hang out. I remember one time we kind of forgot the time and we were just listening to one of the guys tell stories. And the teachers came behind us and gave us one of the biggest lashings ever. Came to the back.
Wow.
That was crazy. But yeah, it's a super strict concept. And I think I needed that too because I think if I were to grow up in that in a non-militant environment, I think my thinking would be so different. So I see it as, you know what, maybe it's a great blessing that it happened that way.
So then on Sundays or something like that, you guys would all go to church, or would it be an everyday thing?
Oh, Sundays we go to church. They made it Sundays, yeah. And then Sundays, I mean Saturdays, we still went to like school, right? So Saturdays we'll go to school, but it's a short day. So I think it's like from 9 a.m. to 12. And then you come back, and then that time you have 2 hours to do recreational stuff. So we'll play soccer. We had this big sandy yard. You know, we just played soccer on the sand. And then from there, you had to take a siesta before sleeping. So that's why it's like most of the time you're in your head because all the activities they make you do, you just have to sit there and be present in your brain. So I think that's what I needed at the time too. So
Kind of
yeah,
kept you busy out of your own head.
yeah, yes, yes. Because looking at things outside of that was tough. Like I remember I had to borrow a friend of mine. His parents brought him underwear, and I didn't have one, so I
Yeah.
had to.
So you borrowed your friend's underwear.
Yeah, I borrowed my friend, which is crazy to say, but hey, you know. Um, so and I think my friends came to realize that, but they never brought it up, which I'm so grateful, right?
So did you feel a lot of your friends were quote better off than you were, even though maybe not that much?
To be honest, I never really thought about it. I just, I guess, I guess the way life taught me, or what life taught me at the time was it didn't matter because it looked like my dad had it. It looked like the family had it, right? Even everybody would say, because my dad does this tourism thing too. He worked for U of T and everything, so he was making quite good money. And then, you know, so he'll bring like students to Ghana at the time, but I'm hardly there, so most of like I hardly see any of it. But then he built like a nice home back home and everything like that with a big compound and everything. So people see it, they know that okay, your dad is well off in this perspective. But for me, I just never felt it or experienced it, which to me is what taught me the life that lesson that I have now is that just cause it's there doesn't mean like it taught me not to be entitled. Like it took entitlement away from me. That's what I think was very valuable. And I think because my friends saw uh that as well, they never really saw it that way. But to me, it was stripping entitlement away from me. It was stripping ego away from me. Um,
So this whole time your dad's living in Toronto and he's a professor?
yes.
See, this just makes me angry. Like,
That's why everybody tells me is like, I'm surprised you're not. And it's like, and I tell people, I'm like, because the journey that God's putting me on needs me to be stripped away from anything of that sort. Anything that is materialistic that might get me tangled into whatever it is, right? The universe, God wants me to be stripped away from it. So he gave me the most family any man could ever ask for, right? And the most sense of wealth at the time, or what I saw, that anybody could ask for. But I just never experienced any of it.
so at one point, did you leave the boarding house and what happened after that?
So the boarding house, when I was about to graduate, the year I was about to graduate, is when um, I was brought here. That I didn't even know what was going on as well. So when I came here, I started high school
In
And then
Toronto?
yeah, in Toronto.
My God. What
Yeah,
what a culture shock. Like,
right. I was just, I can tell, I've just been having culture shock after culture shock.
because I grew up in Toronto as well, so I know where you are going to end up, and that's not where you were at all.
Yeah, no, that's not where I was. So when it came, mind you, I was still a meek, shy person because at the end of the day, your kind of experience teaches you to be meek, right? So when I first came, because I was an entertainment prefect, I was a dancer. I dance. I still have some YouTube videos of me dancing on YouTube because I posted one a few times. So when I first came, it wasn't hard, and I think I know why it wasn't hard because I grew up around peers that I had to be charismatic in order to survive, I guess. Right. So it wasn't hard to assimilate. First year, it was still like getting used to everybody. Second year got easier because the first year I did that talent show and everybody was like, "Oh, cool, he can dance."
But what's that feeling like when you okay, so you're leaving the boarding school, you have sharing of clothing, barely any
Mhm.
food, and you're disease ridden, and now all of a sudden you're on an airplane and you're headed to Canada.
Yes,
Like, what's that like? What's going on in your head?
nothing. Because I was stripped away. Like that's the thing I always say. Because people always ask me, and I'm like, I had nothing going on because I was stripped away of that feeling for so long, right? That feeling of external validation. I was like, and I always say, and people are like, how? And I'm like, I don't know how. But now that I try to think about it, I just feel like I was stripped off that external validation for so long that
So, were you
anything else,
feeling like you were just an observer of what was happening, not a
yes,
participant?
I just felt like I was just sitting in a cart and it was driving itself. And to this day, I still feel that way because everything I've done to this day is not something I chose to do. Life just pushed me this way and then it pushed me that way. And that's how I've experienced life since I was born.
You know, many spiritual leaders spend their entire life to achieve that, right?
Really. But it's like I was forced to think about it that way because everything that happened to me was not something I wanted, right?
So you're
And
on the airplane. What is that like? What's happening there? So you get picked up by somebody. Say, hey,
mhm.
you're going. Was it your dad who came and picked you up, or was it somebody
So
sent for you?
I was picked up from Thing, and then it was my dad and I that went. But mind you, I hardly know him. So,
So this stranger dad picks you up, and you go. You guys now are in a lineup in an airport.
mhm.
You get a passport.
Yeah, they had my passport. Had nothing to do with my passport. So my passport had a typo. Andrew is my name, but it has an S in it. So now I'm Andrews, right?
So did you have any
So,
belongings? Did you have a suitcase, or did you,
oh, that's interesting. I had that also segued to another difficulty I had when I came here. But I was trying to get some clothes in, and they were like, "No, when you come here, we'll get you clothes." So I don't even remember. I think I had one suitcase, a tiny suitcase.
what kind of
Um,
things were in that? Did you have a Bible of your own? Did you have any
no,
like
no,
toys or any
no,
keepsakes?
no. I like. I was so stripped away from sense of possession. I didn't really, not even a book. And I used to be an avid artist when I was a kid. I still am, but I don't have time to do it now. But I used to draw and read a lot just so I can get it, you know? So I didn't
So
even
you're on
take,
the airplane now. You don't have anything at all with you, and your dad for the first meeting, pretty much for the first time. But
yeah, actually for the first time.
were you scared at all? Like you didn't know what was happening, or was it you just were kind of emotionless?
I was emotional because I'm like, you just get to a point where you're like, who cares?
Whatever.
Whatever. Like, because that's where I was. It's like, whatever. I was struggling Even before I came here, I still borrowed clothes. Till that day I left to Canada, the uniform I had on me was not mine. It was my friend's uniform.
So you're on the airplane now, and you show up at Toronto, and what's that like when you come out and see this city?
To be honest, I don't even remember. All I remember was trying to catch up in Amsterdam, and I hated it. That
So
was
you had a layover in Amsterdam?
that, yeah, and that's all I remember. I don't even remember when we got here what I did. I don't remember anything. It's still a blur to me, and I
Wow.
don't know why. Because anybody would be excited, but
Well,
for
it's
me,
traumatic. It's a huge difference. So it's definitely trauma that's blocking it, most likely.
I'm sure. So, and also it's like coming from one environment where I just never changed, right? It was just one extreme, and then now I'm here. So I don't remember anything about it. Even I remember a couple of days later, I was watching TV, and then they told me to come for dinner, and that's all I remember, right? So
So did you go directly from the airport, do you think, to your dad's house?
yeah, I think that's what happened. I think that's what happened.
And then did you have your own room then, or are you sharing rooms with, do you had other
Oh no,
siblings living there?
I had when I was young, like I had my own. I had one room at the time, but then when my brothers came, we all shared rooms. Yeah, but I
And
think
then
it
you're not
was
sleeping on chains anymore all of a sudden.
yeah, yeah, not sleeping on chains anymore, which I never really thought of at the time too, because I guess it's just yeah, my brain was fucked because.
Yeah.
Somebody like now I'm thinking about it, it should have been like, oh shit, now I'm real bad. But no, I didn't think of it that way. I just
You were just in shock, it sounds.
yeah, oh, I think I was in shock my whole life at the time. Yeah, because like everything that happened to me just at the beginning, yes. Like everything was shocked, and after that, everything just is okay, that's how life is. That's how it's supposed to be. That's how it's supposed to go. Um, that's how it is, and that's how I've led it till now. It's like when things happen, I'm like, okay, you know what? I've had worse, and it led me to a position where I'm mentally strong. I have extreme confidence to a point that scares people away. Um, and
Do you remember your first day of was it high school that you immediately went into? What
yeah,
age were you when you moved to Toronto then?
I was what? I think 14, 15,
Okay, so you pretty much entered grade 9 then.
9, yeah. So I entered grade 9 straight away. And I wasn't a bad student, so I was getting good grades. Um, I I almost got into the honor roll if it wasn't for English.
Wow.
So,
Do you
I'm
remember
not
your
like
first day?
no.
You don't remember what that was like?
I really don't. Like I remember I met a friend called Pankaj at the time.
And were you like in Scarborough or where did you grow up
Yeah,
in
so we
Toronto?
were close to Scarborough, but then they found a way to take me to school in East York called Monarch Park.
Okay.
Yeah, so and I think it was a great thing because
That's a little
um
more affluent school, right?
yeah, because anything else east would have been a bad idea for me at the time.
Yeah.
Sadly, it didn't. It like even though it was good, I still had a lot of peer pressure to beat off. Or
Yeah. That's all right. Well,
oh, sorry about that. What the heck?
not a problem. So
Okay,
you had
so
like, were you by peer pressure? You mean like drugs or other things or?
other things, like some friends at the time were not leading the right way.
So is this like the early 2000s?
Yeah, thousands, yeah, 2000s, yeah. So it was it was
Did you experience like segregation and racism, even in
Oh
Toronto?
yeah, so way much. Yeah, I've experienced way too much of it. Um,
Like
yeah,
people
so
think Canada's pretty kind of got over that, but not in my experience growing up either. There still seems to be a lot of racism, and it might be a little bit more kind of subtle, but it seems
it
like
is
it.
more subtle now.
Yeah,
But what about you? Like, so when you grew up in the foster home, like, what were there things that you felt like? Did you feel any sense of segregation among your peers as well? Were they?
I was the youngest always everywhere
Mhm.
I went, um, but I always felt like I was. They told me that I was supposed to be put in the position of the leader, so I kind of had this, I think, personality that stood out as I don't know, maybe born leader or something like that. So I was always the one who was trying to lead people who are 5 or 6 years older than me, and I was told that it was my responsibility to make them behave properly and kind of try to set a good example for them. And because I was the kid that like didn't swear, never got restrained, didn't get punished a lot, and so they were like I was kind of put that way. So it wasn't segregation like that. The only thing that I struggled with growing up was like we would go to a park event or a beach or something like that, and then we had a big van and there's 10, 12 kids all pouring out, and I remember the looks that people gave me. I'm like, oh, those are the group home kids. I'm like, I always wanted to have that feeling of family, but especially when you're out in public, I felt very embarrassed to be in the situation I was all the time. That's the limited kind of segregation that I grew up with. But it wasn't the same. It wasn't the same because like the kids I grew up with in Toronto, it seemed a lot less like in the States, I think they have a lot more kind of a struggle with that sort of segregation and racism than we do up here. But my feeling is, especially in the early 2000s in Toronto, there really was more of a culture split. So I'm sure you noticed that where
Mhm.
we were starting to get more gun violence. We were starting, especially in Toronto. And so I'm thinking that must have been a real struggle for you to not get involved in that type of life. And maybe you were encouraged to a lot.
Yes, like a few of my friends got involved in it. Um, but also for me, I got lucky because I had a stepmom called Auntie Jen. Um, she she was very influential to me, and I think she also saw the person I was because she looked out for me the most. Like even when my brothers came, we would still have like arguments, like the same way if it panned out in boarding school was the same it was panning out here. So when she saw that, she hated it, and she took me under her arms most of the time. So the way she was able to help me get out of it was she would actually buy me tickets every summer to go back home. She did that till I was in grade 12, and then
Wow.
that
So
was
you went back.
yeah.
That's crazy.
And I think that helped me too because I am sure um, the peer pressure would have been a lot to not have that happen because after that, a few of my friends, some of them, you know, a few of them, one of them passed away from knife violence
Here in Toronto or
here in Toronto. So, and he did have a lot of yeah. So yeah, I think my like it's interesting because now I'm thinking about it. Damn, everywhere I went, something had happened. But like some of our friends, they like would rob people, you know, like yeah, stuff like that. And for me, um,
you were never tempted to run into with the wrong crowd or
oh, I always did, but I always knew when to go back to go home, right? Like I had another friend. He was he's a very violent guy. We don't know where he is now. He disappeared, right? Violent, abusive. robbed many people. I think he stabbed a few people, you know. So for me, it was like they saw me as somebody that is cool, charismatic, whatever. So I think they wanted me around, but also I also saw something that I appreciate from them was they respected what I stood up for, what I stood for,
I'm
right?
imagining they also respected your struggle.
Yeah, I guess I because I never really told them. I
Oh, okay.
hardly told anybody, right? But I guess you could see it on me at the
Yeah.
time I came, right? You can see it on me. You can see it by the way I do things. You can see it like it was something I wore on me, like at the time it was like a wall. Now it's a honor, right? So they saw it on me and they knew because and the reason why I know they know was I had this fucked up situation. I don't know, maybe I was, but I was in school one time and then a friend of mine brought a backpack to me, and then he opened it. There was a gun and a knife in there, and then I was like, look, he was excited to show me his gun and knife.
I think this would surprise a lot of Americans listening to the story that
Ah,
this sort
they
of thing
think
happens in Toronto. They just don't
they
understand.
think they're the only ones who get guns, and
Yeah.
I was holding this gun.
Toronto's a
My
rough
dumb,
place.
my dumb self was looking in the barrel. I don't know why I did that. To this day, I'm like, that's the craziest thing I've ever done. And the knife was very rusty because I know it's been used. When it's rusty like that, you could tell it's been used because the iron and the blood and whatever they used it for, they didn't clean it properly. So, like, I think being a black kid who's considered cool kind of forces you to like, meet people like that who want to be associated with you, one way or the
I
other.
wonder, like, 'cause I had, I grew up in Toronto as well in the schools. It was earlier than you. Like, I grew up in like the 80s, but like I was in high school in the 90s. But I
Mm.
wasn't in high school in Toronto. I was in high school in Peterborough, which is a little bit outside of Toronto. But I wonder if like kids who are black growing up in Canada will look at you and think that's a person who's more authentically black than I, because grew up in this privilege. I grew up in this country. I don't have the roots of the struggle from coming from Africa. So maybe they kind of thought that you were, this is me just thinking in my head, but maybe they thought maybe you were more of a real black person who was actually grew up with the struggle and you were authentic and genuine. And maybe that's why they were kind of attracted to you.
Yeah, I have no idea why, but it was just something that um
Well, I just know my black friends growing up had a real struggle with identity.
yes, yes, that's a big problem. That's a big problem. And it's something I've seen a lot with a lot of my friends as well. But my friends were very diverse, like I had a lot of diverse groups as well. And I think it was something that I saw in almost all of them. I think Canada being so diverse makes people want to be associated with something that makes them feel whole, right? Makes them feel cool. So the guy who even showed me the weapon was what was it? Uh yeah, he was a Middle Eastern guy, right? And when he did it, you can see the look on his face, like he was happy for me to give him a form of acceptance or a form of, yo, that's dope, right? Kind of thing like that.
Right, right.
And like, sadly, most of the guys that um I've had to deal with that were going through that were from the Middle East and also South Asia. And
You're right,
don't
right.
get me wrong, there was a few. Most of my black friends also were doing their robberies and whatnot. But
Yeah, it's
I
not
think
really tied to race here. Like
no, it's not.
my foster brother was did armed robberies and was ended up in jail.
Yeah, there's something in it. I don't
Yeah,
know what it is.
and he was white, like white. I don't even know what he was,
Yeah,
but he was like doing armed robberies, and he was like he like so my both my foster brothers were raping me when I was a kid growing up, but I didn't know that that's what that was. So by the time I was about 10 years old, I was like, hey, I don't like this. You got to stop. You know, I'm not gay. Like I'm just very that's my nature. So I think one of the things that kind of
Oh, I'm so
triggered
sorry.
them to do a lot of the next levels of what was happening with me at the time was they knew that I was about to kind of tell people what was going on.
Good.
So that's probably like one of the reasons why the one brother set the house on fire and tried to kill me, and because they were trying to bury the evidence and stuff like that. But the one kid, Robin, he had
Mm-hmm.
ended up going to jail for, getting a gun somehow. I don't even know how he got a gun. We didn't have any guns in the house. So he got a gun and was like, robbing some convenience store or something like that. And so, yeah, it's not just any skin color, but
You
that
know,
that 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 struggles with this stuff.
it's a system, and and for me, I also that's why I always say I thank God for the journey I went through
Yeah,
because it's also made me understand where I'm coming from.
yeah, it definitely develops you as a
Yes,
as a person.
person, because and that's why I always say, Keith, we might see it as struggle, but we are blessed to be in a position where our minds were made to question themselves at such a young age that when you get to a point, you start seeing things as things, like what they're supposed to be. And life kind of pushes you to a point where you stop looking at external things. If it wasn't for food, eating, shelter, most of us wouldn't be even doing the things we do, you know?
I
We,
feel that exactly. I tell people all the time, if you try to attach your happiness to something outside of you, you're screwed.
but you are so screwed.
You've got to figure out how to be happy in any situation.
Yes. And that's the thing. That's what I'm saying. That we were blessed to, and that's why I always say it's a blessing because we were blessed to sit there in that struggle and make sure we find peace before we can move forward. Because when we don't, we're still gonna be in it. And that's the thing I always see as a blessing because and for me it was something where, because I always say, and sadly I used to think this. I'm like, if would I have been okay if it was like I didn't have siblings and parents, and I went through that? Would that have been easier for me? I always think like, because I like, will I have an excuse to why I went through all of those things at the time? I used to think that way, right? And it was a question I always questioned myself with. But when I came to like think about it, I realized that sometimes it's not about it's not about the question of excuses, right? Because that was what I was looking for. But it's a question of what I've learned from it. And if it's something that has taught me that in this world we're always it's self-development from our oneself. Nobody else can bring that happiness towards us. Nothing can do it. Um, Even if it seems plausible. Like you can be in a field of uh what's it, banana trees, but if you don't get up to go pluck them, you can't eat. That's how I seen it at the time.
So, were you when you came to Canada? Was it all of a sudden did you thought, "Hey, all my problems are over," and then you was there a moment where you started seeing that there was actually problems here as well, or
That's a great question. That's a great question. Because when I came, I never had any of those questions in my head, like all my problems are. I never did because with the way life turned out at the time, where I saw this level of fun that some of my family members were having, right? My brothers will get phones, get computers, get all this stuff. And I'm still borrowing clothes, right? And mind you, I'm the last born. So you 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 kind of throw your expectations out the window. And I haven't had an expectation ever since. I don't expect anything in life, and I've never done everything that pushes me to this position I'm in right now is because life just pushed me in that direction. I got into this business because I couldn't find a job one summer. And my friend was like, hey, the government is giving 3 grand to start a business, summer company. So I started a summer company. And then I realized I fell in love with business, right? I did this soccer thing for kids because there was this kids in the neighborhood just across the street that the parents don't have enough money for extracurricular activity. So I'm like, if the government is gonna give me 3 grand, I can use that money to buy some soccer balls and get them doing something fun for the summer, right? So even my entrepreneurship thing was not because I wanted to make money, but because I couldn't find money, and I was like, hey, if the government is gonna give me 3 grand, which I thought was whole big at the time, let me
It
just
is compared to the rest of the world.
right. So
What would you done with 3 grand going back to where you grew up?
I don't even know.
Like that would
I,
have been crazy to
yeah, I
bring
would have
three
been
grand back
crazy,
to
but
those people.
yeah, but I wouldn't even know what to do with it because even to this day, if I go back as me, I wouldn't know what to do for my young self. I really wouldn't. Like, if I got him a bed, yes, he will forget that he's sleeping on metal for a bit, but then his mind will go back to, you know, his family. And I think those little struggles, the physical struggle, the financial struggle that I had was the best distraction I could get at the time. So I'm not sitting in my head about family, you know? Because that was the only thing helping me too.
That is so interesting. Now, do you think you don't have? I mean, it's just an interesting perspective that you think that the struggle could keep you distracted from the struggle.
Yeah,
But it was more like you were getting distracted from the realization that people you loved were also struggling.
yes.
That's very interesting.
Because everybody everybody doesn't choose to be what they become most of the time. I think all the time. We don't choose to be what we become. It's just circumstances. Circumstances will lean us one way and then direct us the other, you know? And if I had everything, become like one of some of my siblings are, who all their struggle is about the family, right? And that's the worst because you never find the answer.
Well, it feels like, from you saying that, correct me if I'm wrong, but it feels like you almost derive more pain from the thought of what's happening to other people than what's happening to yourself.
Yes. Yes, because I think I think um the world helped me understand mine in the best way it can. And with some, you you don't you don't have something you can quantify with because those kind of answers or those kind of questions don't get answered the way you want it to because your mind is going to build a scenario that is 10 times worse than what you feel the scenario should be. And when it gets to that point, nobody can give you an answer. And when that answer becomes unanswered, then you have people going down the drain because they've lost their identity. And identity is one of the biggest things that we as humans can have.
Well, you're such
So,
an empathetic person. Like I could see it in your face when you were talking about your childhood, you were at a certain level, but then when I told you about mine, all of a sudden you started collapsing. I'm like, you care more about what other people are going through in their struggle than you did yourself. That's you're such an empath. That's what they
I
say, you
know it's
know.
not good sometimes.
Man, like, and the stuff that you've gone through, it's like you said. I think it really is. You're distracting yourself with from the empathy that you are naturally gifted with. Like, it's just you're so you feel so much for other people. You really did have to find some way to distract yourself from it. That's
Yeah,
incredible.
it, it's good. It's good to be that. I think I think in the world, when a chain link is linked together, the chain can't look at that one link, right? It has to look at itself as a whole chain in order for it to hold any power. You know, if I were to be, and I always say, and I always thank God for the blessing, because if I were not to be in the struggle from one position, right, which is a place of lack of, and I know that there's lack of, right, and being born in Tema and growing up in Ashima and everything. That first stage of lack of, and knowing that my effort, right, kind of helps a little bit with that lack of, also taught me a few things that, hey, as a kid, you're always gonna have a sense of like, you know, power to change something. And we didn't do what we did as kids for ourselves. We did it for our mom, right? And then from there, going to the boarding school, which became a point of stripping me away from anything that I might feel material or external. And that is a longer journey than me knowing the value of effort for others in order for me to also survive, right?
Right.
So that stripping away, that taking away gave me so much because from there, all I could look was within, you know, because me looking within helped me survive school, right? Got me uniforms. It made sure my peers respect and loved me and adored me. They didn't do it out of pity, but they did it because, oh yeah, he is cool. That's how they saw me at the time. And that respect was what got me confidence too, because I'm like, I am respected with nothing, right? And it's not because of what I have, but because of the character that I've built within me. And I think that was where it was. It stripped me and then started showing me that having what you will add to yourself is what's going to create your biggest value. And that was the best lesson. And then me coming to Canada was also another lesson where it's like, with your value will come temptation. Because when I came to Canada, I was very popular. After a while, I became very popular because of dancing and arts and everything in school. And you just have people approach you, people will come to you, want to be friends with you, try to make it transact. So I just saw it like a stage, kind of leveling stage, like, hey, now this is your next leveling stage. And the high school one taught me a few things is you cannot let external validations add a sense of ego or boost you to any point. And for me, seeing all those three made me understand that the life I live was never for me to direct. Maybe it's leading me something far greater, not for me, but for other people. And the best way I could do it is to just move along and keep true to being myself as the world is taking me wherever it's taking me to. And that's scary, but I haven't had control of my life. since I was born. All I can do is just work hard and keep doing what keep doing what life is leading me in directions. And
So do
so
you
far,
feel like life is already predetermined? Do you feel like everything is already written and you're just watching it? Or do you feel like you're able to be an active participant in what's the future holds?
that's a great question. I always feel like the path is pre-written, but when you choose one, you gotta walk it to the other end,
Do you
right?
feel you have that choice or do you feel like choice has already been made?
I always feel like you have that choice, but when you do the right choice, it'll always feel like it's already been made, right?
That's
You,
great.
yeah, right? Like you like, you have the choice, but when you make that choice, the feeling will always feel like it's been made for me somehow, because anything that goes wrong with the right choice somehow turns out okay, right? It's something I seen happen to me, and all I know is when that choice happens, because most of the time that choice is not up to you, right? It takes other entities outside of you to make that choice for you to say, okay, this person has accepted my role, or this part of my journey has been accepted, and I can continue walking it. And as
Yeah.
soon as that path comes in and we're able to walk it, then we know, okay, now it just comes with our effort. How much effort can we put into this to get it to that aspect that the universe wants us to get to, so that we can meet the other crossroad.
It reminds
And
me of that scene in The Matrix when Neo's talking to the Oracle and she offers him a candy. Do you know that
mm-hmm,
scene?
yes.
And he's like, "You already know whether I'm not going to accept the candy, don't you?"
Mm-hmm.
She's like, "Yes, you've already made the choice." I'm like, "Well,
Choice.
why am I here to make this choice then?" She's like, "You're not. You don't have no power to make the choice. You're just here to understand why you made the
Why
choice."
you made the choice. Exactly. And that's the whole thing. It's like we already know what our choices are. It's already predetermined. We just take one point to make it. And then as soon as we do, it just feels like it's destiny all of a sudden. And I know for a fact you've had that happen to you a million times. Where
I
you're
feel
like,
that.
yes. So for me, I always see it as God as God has our ultimate destiny, and it's just up to us to put in a little effort. It's like plants are free, seed is free, but in order for us to see it become what it is for free, we still have to put in a little effort for it to bear the fruits that we want. And and the fruits, it's not like when you bear it, it's not like you can eat all of it. You can't. But your seeds, there are gonna be more seeds, and those seeds you can use to create a million more plants. And now you can teach others how to eat and use those seeds for the next people. And that's how it's the same thing as growth and family growth. You have two kids, your kids have two kids, and then before you know it, in 3 generations, you have 100 people from your family tree. It's the same principle with helping others. Yes, you're gonna have the harder time doing it. That's the main reason we're here. We suffer so that the other generation doesn't suffer as much. Because we're not taking it anywhere. We're gonna pass away, you know? And that's how I've always felt. I guess maybe life just pushed me into that direction of feeling that way. So, because so many people helped
Yeah.
me when I was a kid.
Yeah.
So, like, for me to see all that help, all that aid when they didn't have to, it just tells me that that's just how the world is.
So
There
did
was not,
you learn the lesson from a young age that people care?
yes, and people I don't know. So it just made me know that the world cares about people. And you're always gonna find people who don't, but that's not because they don't, it's because they don't know where to start. It's all insecurities between everybody. People are afraid to give without because they have conditions. They have a material end to their standpoint because that's how they were raised. Oh, when you do this, you get a candy. When you do this, you get a bike. When you score 100% on your test, you're gonna get this. Now, when they grow up, they're gonna feel like, oh, when I give you this, I expect something back, you know? So,
Now, do you think all of those helping other people is that truly a selfless act, or do you think that is still selfish because they're feeling good about it, or they're doing it for some kind of reason that helps themselves? Or do you think there's a way to help other people completely altruistically?
yeah, because it happened to me, right? People help me and never ask for anything till this day, right? And and I could tell some people help not because they feel good about it, but because they feel like it's needed. You know, I
Yes.
think I think helping comes from a place of need than a place of want. Because if you want to do something to somebody, then you're not doing it because it's a want. You're not doing it because it's a need, but a want. So it's a sense of validation for you, which I don't think is a point of good per se, because it has no purpose. When Because most good deeds have no purpose. So when the good deed is done, it doesn't really resonate. It comes and goes because it's like we need when we have to do good, we have to have a purpose around it. The purpose of good is a purpose of, you know, understanding somebody's need. And the need is not giving them a bag of rice because you're hungry. It's about, hey, okay, you're hungry right now? Let me feed you. But hey, let's set up this little greenhouse. Let's see what kind of fruits we can feed. Let me make you put in some effort because everybody wants to feel like they're putting in effort. That's how they feel they belong because they're human. They're human like you and me. We all want to feel like we're putting in something into the world. We don't want to feel like we're being given anything for free because then we feel useless.
Well, I think a lot of people are. It would be great if people had that idea, but I think a lot of people are missing that. I think that is exactly what you're describing is the cure for depression and the cure for a lot of problems in our society would be to feel like that. If we
Yeah.
could get everyone to feel like you're feeling right now, like that's the case. I think a lot of people who are struggling with identity, they're struggling with who they are and fit into this world, and they're struggling with depression and things like that. A lot of that could be solved by being in a position of service, you know?
Yes. We all need to feel service. Everybody wants to. We're all a chain link fence, like I use that analogy. We all want to feel a purpose. That's why some people work hard so that they can feel purposeful over somebody else, and they call that being like a boss or something like that. And some people work hard just so that they can tell others that look how hard I've worked. It's not because they do it because of an ego or anything like that. It's a point of misplaced purpose because everybody wants to feel purposeful. Everybody wants to feel like they're contributing.
Or maybe
One,
people don't realize that that's what they should be feeling to
yes,
solve their problems.
yes,
Because I think some people maybe not have that instinct to say, I want to be purposeful, I want to be in service. And maybe
yes.
that's what is the missing part of them.
Hmm.
Because I find when I was feeling quite down and depressed, and as soon as I think, okay, what can I do for other people? Then you feel that sense of purpose and you feel like you're worth something and that you belong in this universe and you're part of the flow of energy
Hmm.
that exists out there, you know?
Hmm. There is, oh man, if it goes to spiritual, I could go crazy. But I,
How much do you think that your belief in the way you act in life now was influenced by your early Christian doctrine or study?
I would say zero. Because for me, I always felt too Christianity is too consequential. like I'll just give that same analogy as working to attain something. I'm only doing good because I know at the end of it I'm gonna get a candy. I'm only getting A's in my test because I'm gonna get a bike because my dad promised me a bike. Right? Like that is how I see it. But the teachings in between, I think, is very important. Like in my traditional religion, which I've come to understand a lot more of, we have
What
our,
religion is that?
oh, it's traditional. We don't have a name for it, but it's like of the Ewe people. They call it traditional African thing. But there's so many other ones, but it just grouped it into one. Um, but we have this pronoun, like in our language, the pronoun is which is an e, and you use that for anything and everything: a man, woman, dog, rock, anything. And basically symbolizes the concept of everything containing So is like the life in which we all grow into, right? In order for you to kill a chicken to eat, you have to make sure you pray and accept that chicken, right? Make sure this chicken accepts his death.
Is that a recognition of yourself in that chicken?
Yes, or a recognition of yes, and also a recognition of the chicken being conscious. And in order for you to for the chicken to give you its life, the short-term life, is you have to give it a purpose for the afterworld. And what is that purpose? You can say, I want to know, send this message to the afterworld on, like, I want deliverance, or I want something to go well for me. People go through the material aspect. Oh, I want this to work for me. I want my business to work. But at the end of it, it's about you've given that a purpose, right? Even in the spirit world, everybody has purpose. We're all connected, but we're all driven with purpose. What kind of purpose is connected with one? What kind of purpose? And then the ones that don't have that purpose connection are deformed, right? Maybe some people might call them demons, but they're deformed of their uh, identity to God, which is built in our own image. And that concept to me doesn't mean that God built us eyes, nose, and everything like that in our own image. No, but I think the spiritual purpose and essence of us is built in this image. And the more you deprive yourself from that essence, the less you look like it and the weaker you get. And with that, you're falling below the totem, which you have a higher connection to this material world because you're below, right?
That
And
that aligns very well with a lot of religions who talk about, being at a certain vibration,
mm-hmm.
right? So if you're at a high vibration level, you're more connected to spirit and source. If you're low vibration, you're less connected, and you start becoming broken.
Yes, yes, and that's something that I've come to understand in that sense is, and when you have that, you become weak, and sometimes you are blessed with naivety when you come into this world, right? It's a blessing because you don't want to come here all knowing. Then it gets boring,
Right.
right? So when you come, you're blessed with naivety. You're blessed like a kid. You're gonna know more. You're gonna learn more, but you still have the knowledge and ways to capture information way quicker. Like you see a kid, a 5 year, like as soon as a kid start talking, they start talking like a regular human being. Like, and then people go, "Whoa! Like, I didn't even know you knew this word. I never said this word before." Right? Like you get those kind of information. So when you do that, some of the low vibration entities use fear to get a sense of it's their crack. Because in the spirit world, they have no point of power or no point of how do I say, a point of power or a point of superiority. So they use the naivety of humans to get themselves feeling all powerful again.
And this is why we're so protective of the new people,
Yes,
of the ones who just got here from the
got here.
spiritual
Yeah.
plane. We're so protective of them and their naivety, and we want to even in video game worlds, when people are noobs in a video game, we want to protect them and show them the
Yes.
ropes, and
Show them the ropes.
because
Yes.
there's so many low vibration people out there wanting to take advantage.
Yes. So it's a thing where, because they know that as soon as this person goes to the spirit world, they won't have power over them anymore. So the power is not because they're more powerful than you and I or a kid or no. It's because it's like if a bully or this muscular guy was bullying us, right, for years, and then all of a sudden he got amnesia or whatever, wiped his brain. His brain is all wiped out. Now he doesn't know he's powerful. He doesn't know he's strong. Most people will go and be like, see, you weakling. Start pushing him around. We'll start pushing him around and then be like, oh, see, you thought you were all strong. But we knew that he's strong. But because he doesn't know it, it makes us feel powerful. And that's why most people get into that concept of dreams, nightmare. That's why more nightmares happen to kids and teenagers than when you're an adult. You know, those are some of the ways that those people crave power. Maybe I can say maybe that's why they do horror movies. Now I'm not gonna go to conspiracy theories. That's a good joke. But in a way, that is how I feel spirituality is so important. When we start to understand how we're all connected and how much our power grows, we start to see how important it is to know that we shouldn't do things for consequences.
It's
Because
very much like the story of the sheep and the lions. I don't know if you know that one, but where the one lion got separated from the pride and was raised by sheep.
Mhm.
So he thought he was a sheep.
Mm.
And then the other sheep were all running away from the lions, and the lions are like, "Why are you running? You're a lion." He's like, "I'm not a lion, I'm a sheep. You shouldn't be
Mhm.
running from us. You're a big, strong lion." But because he was raised by the sheep, he thought he was a sheep.
Yes.
And so the lion took him to the river and said, "Look, you're a lion. You're not a sheep." And he still didn't believe it until the
Yes.
other lion slaughtered the sheep and then forced that lion to eat it. And then the lion
Exactly.
realized, "Oh, I'm a lion."
And that's the way it is. Because of our naivety, we have so much of our teachings misconstrued. Because if the truth is told, most of our structures will not be the structures in which we are. Most people become who they are when it comes to a concept of ego, a concept of how do I even say oppression. It's because we're not being taught the right way of how we come into this world and how our spiritual structures are developed.
Now, do you think most people are able to even learn those lessons if they were taught them? Because the
Yes.
information is out there, but I think a lot of people live in this kind of shallow mentality. They don't really kind of try to explore what is actually happening around them, who they are, what their purpose is. A lot of them just kind of keep their head down and just go about their business.
You can't blame them though, because the reason why I see it that way is the only reason people don't know it is because of time.
What do you mean?
And the system, okay, so what I mean by that is the system we live in knows that. So it strips you away from all the time that you can have to actually reflect, the time that you have to actually think. Because as a kid, and I've come to understand the schooling system here more. It's same in Ghana, but because I was in boarding school and didn't have to do anything else, they tried to push more time on us as is a structural thing. to be distracted. You wouldn't be in your mind. You wouldn't be in your head to connect with your head. You go to school, you come back, you do schooling, you're entertained by TV for whatever hours. You go to bed, you repeat the same thing. You go to middle school till you start working. And even working is worse because you don't have the time to actually think and have those kind of conversations with yourself. And with the materialistic aspects of things as well, it pushes you to connect your happiness to external things more and more. And when the more and more you have that, the less and less you have connections with other people. And the more you feel like having X amount of things over somebody would bring you more happiness. And when you get there, you realize, oh, wait, that's not the aspect that I was thinking was going to generate that outcome for me. So it's a systematic thing that has been developed for years, for centuries, to make sure that when people have that freedom, it wouldn't be a mental one, right? Because your mental is not really freed because even the home you live in, you still have to make sure you're paying for the rest of your life. That alone is gonna make you not be free mentally. It's gonna make you want to go out there and make sure you're working harder to make sure that you have a place to stay.
Now, you
If you
kind of
didn't have,
touched on it a little bit, but do you feel like this is some kind of low vibration entity? I struggle to say conspiracy, but or do you think it's just the nature of these low vibrational beings to put these in our media? Like you talk about horror movies. I mean, I'd like talking about conspiracy, so I'd love it. It's fine.
yeah, we could talk about it. I'd love to share.
So do you think that this is like some sort of conspiracy, or maybe not conspiracy, but just a natural way of being that puts things like horror movies out there to get people to be matching their low vibrations?
Yes, because if you don't tell if you don't tell people to be afraid every time, they'll get to a point they will not be afraid or they'll forget fear, right? It's like when a kid gets burned by a pot and another kid is born and you don't tell him, hey, that pot is hot, or you don't see him getting burned, or you don't show him a video of other people getting burned all the time, he will explore that curiosity, right?
But that seems like a good thing. Like we're trying to protect that person. I don't think a horror movie was your point, saying that it was going to protect people.
No, yeah, no, not in that point, but it was just an example because then I'm going to segue into the point I was trying to make. So the reason why I brought that point is because it's the same way for in the concept of a horror movie. Yeah, the other one is to protect people, but it's to protect people in their own interest. And it's the same thing in the other concept is to protect the entities, the low vibration entities in their own interest. That's why their biggest point of horror is death, right? Because that's the biggest point of sale to humanity is death.
Yes.
If you look at religion, death, when you die,
it's the easiest way to control people through fear and death.
Death, yeah. And fear, even in any horror movie, the biggest controller in fear is death as well. You get to die.
Now, some people would say, well, the horror movie is teaching you how to get out of a situation like that because we're all screaming, don't go down the stairs or don't go in that room. And it's like, I think it's a trope that women seem to want to watch movies about murder and serial killers and things like that more than men. And I think some people would say that is because that's them trying to pretend and get used to how I could possibly get out of that situation. Similar to how boys grow up typically, not stereotypically, that, boys will grow up playing guns or playing war because, sword fights and things like that. And that's training for eventual, perhaps a situation like that comes across them. They'll have some sort of training that is not resulted in their death.
That's a good way of putting it. But the reason why people channel that trope is because there needs to be a proper explanation to why people watch it or people practice what they practice. Um, for it's like they say, it's better to be a warrior in a garden than a gardener at war, right? But when you look at it from that perspective of why that system, the low vibration system, is creating such an empathy of fear and over death, it's not because of the physical world per se, but it's because of the spiritual aspect. Because when you become aware of your spiritual power, in a way, the low vibration, which is low energy, and they don't have that much vibration and power as you do, they wouldn't have that physical power over you. So there's a few things, right? It's a concept of making sure that you're spiritually down all the time through this mediums, right? If And most of the time you can see spiritual in most movies about horror movies, you see that spiritual entities having dominion over you physically, not spiritually. You've never seen you die and then your spirit comes out and then now your spirit is fighting with the ghost. They never do that. Because when they do that, then they're understanding, they're creating a trope that, oh wait, yeah, this spiritual world, he's met his match. Because now this person is off their physical, they still have a spiritual thing that they could use to fight that person. They're not just all unique. They're not a unique ghost. You can be a ghost too. So when they're not going past that loophole, making it about physical versus spiritual, which is never ever the case, you wouldn't think of it that way. So mentally, you're also weakening your spiritual mind because now you're thinking, oh man, if that ghost could kill this person, it could kill me too. Now spiritually, you've weakened yourself to a point where now you're feeling like you're down. So when you have a nightmare, all you're doing is running and then trying to scream whatever religious God's name that you have in your dream,
Now,
right?
do you feel that these are ideas that you got from your traditional upbringing through the traditional, would you call it religion or spirituality?
Spirituality, I would call it. Um, I would say yes and no because it also came from me um, thinking a lot as well.
What kind of teachings were you being taught with traditional?
Traditional, you mainly with the traditional, you mainly have an aspect of every being has a sense of dignity, anything at all. Trees, nowadays we hardly do the trees ones, but before you cut down a tree or you do anything, you have to ask for its, aspect of dignity to of forgiveness and whatnot. So for me, looking at it from that perspective is what made me kind of understand or kind of see it from that angle of why do I fear things in my dreams, or why do I have that irrational fear over things that I know won't be able to harm me, right? In that kind of aspect of it. And I also said, if they're spirit world and they feel so powerful, how come I'm always okay after? So with that and my sense of and that spirituality that I've come to understand, it just made me put two and two together. And also from a lot of the scriptures as well, like I mix Bible, uh Christianity, which is basically Judaism as well, the Old Testament, and a few things. So like seeing from that perspective of Solomon having dominions over all this demons, where he could order them to do whatever and they had to, and they trembled in fear of him. And to me, in those scriptures, it never said God was by his side when he was doing that. Uh, but they still trembled in fear. So it just made me understand that there's a concept that we have forgotten about, where we also have to remember that we are from that spiritual realm as well. And with that spiritual realm comes an aspect of growth that we have already done to be able to be granted the power to come to this physical world for whatever short time that we have. And if that was not the case, we wouldn't have all these low vibration entities harassing us. They would be harassing the heavens, they would be harassing other spirits. But because they cannot do that, because they're far weaker, they harass the people who have been blessed with naivety before coming here, because they do not know what power they hold. And they just have to talk to a few people who are willing to listen in the physical world and uphold whatever um, spiritual mythologies they want to make sure that they feel like they dominate the earth. That's all it is for me. At least that's how I think about it.
How were you taught this? Are there spiritual leaders in traditional, or was this passed down through just your family and people who were around you? Like, I assume you weren't going to church to learn this, like, like I grew up.
No, I think that's a great question because I like I normally I wouldn't say somebody sat me down and taught me everything, but from all those teachings and from my own personal experience, spiritual experiences as well, which I've had some crazy ones. But
I'd love to hear about some of those.
oh yeah, are you sure?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. So with some of those experiences, it kind of made me see it from a point of teaching instead of from a point of faith. I feel logic is so important in our sense of spirituality. If it wasn't, God wouldn't bless us with it. He wouldn't bless us with understanding. He wouldn't make us question things when people ask us to have faith because He wants us to learn. He wants us to know what we're getting into because He knows we already know it. And the concept of free will being blessed to everybody, even though, yes, we still have every path is certain, but it's not just one. It's like a tree branch. There's so many angles to a tree branch, but it always gets to one angle. One angle, like one tree branch stops way too early. Another one stops halfway. Another one stops there, and then one goes all the way. And we all have to pick which one we stop at. So when I always hear this complaint, people say, oh, if God is omni, like if He knows everything, why is He not letting us go the way He wants us to? No, that's your free will. He knows every end. He knows every possible end, but He's not gonna He's not gonna make that decision for you. It's
So
up to
how do
you.
you resolve free will with what seemed to be, we were talking about a little of determinism, or that things were already written?
Great question. So how we resolve free will with things that are already written is good, bad, failure, success, all possible. You could have we could all have maybe 10,000 possible endings to our life.
And all of those you would see as rewritten or pre-written?
You would see as it's what you did. It's
So
just that
we've done all of those.
yes. So it's just that everybody has done it. It's just that the person knows all possible ends.
So
It
it's
doesn't mean
almost
it's
like you're
true.
describing a choose your own adventure book where we have let's say, to limit it, instead of, even though it's probably infinite, let's say we have 5 different possible endings.
Mhm.
They're all there, but it's your choice to read which one you want to go read. Is
Yes.
that what you're saying?
Yes. And it's not because the person and how do I even say it? It's like it's an all writing book, right? You know your ending, but how do I okay, so you know your ending and I know whatever ending you're gonna end on, right? So if you don't pick another ending, I don't worry about that ending. Does that make sense?
But does that other ending actually still exist?
No,
It's already been determined that you're going to make the right choices or the wrong choices.
no. You determine it. I just know where it's gonna end. That's what it is with God. Like you determine it. I already know. It's like
So is it more like a movie? Let's say we have a movie. We have Tom Cruise starring in a movie. We know that he's going to win because he's the protagonist. We know that he's going to get to the end. We know Tom Cruise wins, but we watch the movie anyways. Is it like that, or is the movie have a bunch of possible different endings?
yeah, yeah, okay. Okay, this is how I say it. Before you go watch the movie, somebody gives you a pamphlet, right? And then it gives you 100 lists of all the possible endings of the movie,
Okay.
right? Now you know all the list, but you
He
don't know where it's gonna go.
he could win, he could lose, he could die,
Lose,
she could die.
yeah. So you know the ending, but you don't know where it's gonna go. So it doesn't mean just because I know the endings, possible endings, means that I know what you're going to do. So that's the concept of free will. That is. So it's like a branch where all the possible endings, you still have to go to different like channels to channel the ending. And when those channels come, because you're predetermined, it's like anything you do in life has a yes or no, on and off kind of thing, right? The yes leads us one way, the no leads us another way. It's not a three, it's never a three path selection most of the time. It's always two, right? So that's the branch analogy.
The three would be the pre-decision before the decision happens.
Yes.
You'd have the maybe. So you have the
Mm-hmm.
yes, the no, and then the maybe. That would
Maybe
be the
they,
three.
yes. Yes. So you're always gonna you so like before you make the decision is always a two path. And I've never seen anybody say that's
I would
not the way.
say before you make the decision, there's a three path. There's the maybe, the yes, the
The
no, and then
maybe,
once
okay.
you've made the
Okay.
decision, then it's a binary. You've made either the yes or no. Now you're living with the
Yes.
singular.
With the singer. And that's the way it is. So it's like we pick a path and then after that the path is kind of predetermined in a way where now the path is leading us until we get to a point of three decisions and a two decision.
So do you believe there is a good place afterwards and a bad place, or is it all a place? Is there a heaven? Is there a hell?
This That's a great question. To me, because of how I've seen things, I realize that heaven and hell is a material aspect. And the reason why they made it material because it's easier to sell now because that's how we are that's how we're brought up. That's how we're raised in the society we live in. It's a material world. And in order for anybody to understand the world they're growing into or the world they want to go into after they're dead, should be material as well. One has mansions, golden roads, right? Where you don't have day or night, whatever it is. The weather is always perfect. If the weather is always perfect, why do you need mansions, right? The other is volcano with fire, torture. They're tearing their flesh material, all this thing, right? In a spirit, like in a soul kind of way. They're tearing your soul or they're tearing your flesh in a soul kind of way. For me, how I see it is, it's always going to be internal, and it doesn't pick. It doesn't pick thing. You're never going to be judged by anybody. Nobody's going to come to you and make you feel special. Hey, you're going to heaven. Hey, you're going to hell. People, beings are already living in their hell. We see them. They, their form of, their form of relief is by scaring people in their dreams. That is their only form of relief. The worst hell you could be is internal. You don't have an identity. You're disfigured. You don't know who you are. You can't even look at yourself in a reflection. You you are weak. You're seen like a bum, like you're like a bum in the spirit world. You see how we treat homeless people here. Like they're nobody. Same concept to me in the spirit world. And that's way painful because that is gonna happen to them for eternity. The earth is gonna be around, never gonna end. And there's gonna be more and more of those entities. And they're gonna keep crying. They're gonna keep hoping. And gonna keep praying. That's why, and the concept of it, when they see, that's why children are so revered because they are the most innocent and it's the most blatant way to showcase to the spirit world that, hey, we can just take you guys out as soon as you enter this world. Those concepts are there.
So
We are
is
showing power.
naivete, I can't pronounce that word. Is being naive more powerful or less powerful?
It's the ultimate blessing. It doesn't have a point of power per se. Because taking somebody out of this material world doesn't make them uh, infants. They don't get naive when they go back. They don't stay naive. It's like a video game. When you experience the whole thing and you want to restart it, you start from zero again.
But you still
It's
have
not that
the mental experience of what to
you
do in the
still have the
game.
mental experience, but if you could wipe your mind off because you love the game so much and you want to wipe your brain off so that you can experience it 100% like you never experience it again, you will do that, right?
Mm-hmm.
So when you do that, because not everybody, those negative entities don't have that luxury anymore.
So what was this some of the most powerful spiritual experiences that you were talking about that you've had?
Man,
Is there something that you had that you just can't explain or you can only explain it through your belief system? It doesn't make any sense in this physical world?
yeah, I know I could still explain it.
I think you're giving yourself the goosebumps. You're remembering the story. I don't know it yet. I need those goosebumps.
You asked me the question, so now I'm just like, no, but it was me before, after, when I was in my, after that, it's not like I became super spiritual after school, boarding school, or anything. Because to me, it just felt like normal, right? Like, oh, I'm in school. I have to go to church. I have to go to Sunday school, whatnot. But when I was in my 20s, and when I was doing Rev, I started feeling like a sense of a disconnection. I think at that age, you start feeling like you want to have a sense of spiritual connection, one way or the other. And instead of me going outside, something just told me to be more external or internal. And when I was doing that, I came to uh, find the name of God um, in the most unique way possible. And then I went to bed that night and I woke up. Like, I woke up. Like, woke up. And then I turned to my right and I had the most calming fear I've ever heard, like had a fear where, when most of the time when you're afraid, you just want to fight or flight, right?
Right.
But this one, I was just I was just calm, but I was so afraid. My heart was beating fast. And it's like real life in my apartment at the time. And then I'm just one of my older apartments, and I was like turned, and then I saw this big figure. It had a lion head, a humanoid face, and then a bird head. And it had his arm folded, things going. And it was watching me, and I was watching him. I felt so calm.
Do you feel this was a dream or was this reality?
See, that's where it creeps me out, because I don't know. It felt too real. It was gray, like super gray, like the most neutral color possible.
The being or
Yeah, the most neutral color. The whole room became neutral color.
did it
Like the most unifying color you've ever heard, like seen.
was it like glowing? Is that why the room was the same color, or
It wasn't glowing.
it's just was it your perception of the room that became gray like that, or
No, it just like turned into, when a movie is just gray,
like black and white?
black and white kind of thing.
Okay. So what happened?
So I it stood there, and then all of a sudden I saw another being by the edge of the bed, and then it took over the whole place, and all I could see was like 3D, 2D wings flipping, spinning in between each other, eyes in the wings, going crazy, spinning in between each other, everything. I didn't know what I was looking at because I couldn't find the depth of it, and it just felt like I was sucked into it, but I was still not sucked into it. It's like the most creepiest 2D, 3D thing I've ever seen. And it was like wings with eyes on it.
So
So
like a
after that,
biblically accurate angel.
I guess
That's the way
that
they
freaked.
describe angels in the Bible, right?
Yeah. And I did research. Those two go together. And that's scary. But it gets creepier.
Okay. Sorry. Go ahead.
So after that, I woke up. Okay?
What does that mean?
I don't know.
Woke up
That's weird.
spiritually, woke up physically.
I just woke up from bed again.
Okay.
But it didn't feel like I woke up from a sleep. It just felt like I woke up again and got off the bed. So it was a 1 bedroom apartment. So I opened the bedroom door, and then I went into the living room. Then the floor, the wall between the floor opened up, and this big being came out.
The same one?
No, this is like glowing eyes. They were like with teeth, jagged teeth, big with long hair. Was looking at me like he was visibly upset. And I was laughing for some reason. Because I was in like the fear I had before, like, you're not topping that. So I was laughing, and then as I was laughing, it stood there because I think it was flabbergasted. And then all of a sudden, another one came out, and I was still laughing. Then another one came, and I had like 15 of them in the room. Mind you, it felt too real. So I was still laughing till one grabbed me by the neck and was squeezing me, and I couldn't breathe. Couldn't breathe till I passed out, and I woke up again.
Were you in bed again? Or were you on the floor?
In the bed.
Okay.
But then when I woke up, I felt like pain.
So do you
And
feel like, do you feel like that was just all dreams? Because if you said that you'd woke up from the bed and walked into the next room, wouldn't you have passed out in the room?
but that's the thing. I felt all the pain that it grabbed my neck with. So that was a point where I didn't understand at the point, because me waking up, having that pain. But I passed out, so I don't know. I passed out on the floor. I passed out then, so maybe I was taken back to the bed. I don't know.
Could be. It's
Could be.
possible.
I don't want to think about that. Let's just say
Do
I dreamt it and I woke up from the bed. Right? Let's just let's just pray that way. I
you
think that might.
feel that that was like, what's your instinct on that? Do you feel that there was a real thing that happened, or do you feel that it was a very powerful dream? What's your instinct on that?
I I don't even know because it felt way too real, but also I don't want it to be because it was just too surreal. Because even when I looked into I was telling one friend, it's like, oh, that happened. That was a saying in the Bible, Matthew something something. It's like, oh, when God came through, then seven demons came to some guy and were harassing him. So he starts, and then that got me more scared. But anyway, so but after that, there was an awakening in me because after that incident, I was getting more and more nightmares. Like every time I went to bed, like I was getting harassed. And the name of God that I learned at the time, which I don't think I'll be able to say. Yeah, maybe I'll tell you in person. But the name of God I came to learn at the time, and I said out loud that night before that incident happened to me. So I said that word out loud before that incident happened to me. And when I kept having nightmares, I was trying to say that word, but only the JUS one was coming out, so they weren't leaving me alone.
Why are you afraid to say these names?
Uh, Not afraid. It's just sometimes it's, how do I say it? It's like a gun you can't have to everybody. It's a gun you can't give everybody.
You don't want to give everyone. Are you saying you don't, like, you even spelt out Jesus's name
Hmm.
instead of saying it? Is there a reason? And then you said that were you given the true name of God? Is that what you're saying? Beyond Yahweh, or is it just
It's similar to that, but it's not really that. But I'll let you know in person.
what?
I'll give you
What's
that.
I'm curious as to why this is. Are you just afraid of anyone else being able to wield this name?
No, it's not about wielding the name per se. It's it's a concept
I
that
think
I
people are
feel.
going to be driven crazy now by you not.
Hey, they will get to it. It's something I think reveals itself.
Is it something that you learned through prayer or through dreams, or was it someone told you the name?
No, came to me.
It just came to you, and then you're like, "This
Yeah.
is."
And then
In,
I researched it, and it was true.
so this is a name that's out there. Other people
Yes.
already know it.
Yeah, but people can't say the way it's meant to say.
Interesting. What is the harm with being able to put it out on a video?
There's
Like,
no harm in it, but
then
then
what?
it's a disservice
What's
to
your
spiritual
hesitation?
growth. It's a disservice to anybody's spiritual growth. I think
It's
it's important.
something you think people should find themselves.
Yes, it's always that way. Because then you're taken away from your spirituality most of the time. And that's why I think religious standpoints try to take away from humanity. Because it takes logic to get to know what your standpoint is. As a father, you wouldn't give birth to children and later tell them to come and worship on your feet. If God put his fatherly love in you as a father and his motherly love in the mother, which he combines makes himself, no parent will ever have that mentality of, hey, I gave birth to you, now you have to worship me. They want you to be in the concept of your growth where you can help your siblings, be there for your siblings, show the morality and the empathy that I instilled in you as a person without knowing. You don't have to know to be of my teaching, basically. And the reason why I think those concepts have been taken over and been placed in a concept of faith and blind faith is because then it takes you away from that aspect of it.
So how did
And we,
you discover this name? Were you in a state of prayer or meditation? What were you
yes,
thinking about?
I was thinking about I was thinking about a lot of concepts. At the time, it wasn't something I thought about for one night. It was something I've been thinking about for a long time, which is I'm I'm now here as a man, a young man, thinking of why, purpose. I used to think of if everything was dark and I wasn't alive, what would it look like? And it always came back blank, and it was very scary at the time, you know. But it came from a concept of okay, now that I understand empathy, I've gone through all of this. Like, where where does that lead me? And it became more of my spiritual being of self is what would I want to be if I was outside my body, basically. Where would I want to go? Where how would I lead myself? And also I also really question myself on wherever I'm going, I do hope that the world doesn't change me for something I'm not, right? Or make me into something that will be considered evil. So I was thinking about all of those things till one day just I was watching a thing and then it just came to me because the word just came sound similar and I said it. And I said, I'm like, oh, if it's this, in my heart, I'm like, if it's this, let it be true. And then when that incident happened that same night, I didn't really think of, like, believe it till I was having all those nightmares that was happening to me every night. And I lived by myself, so that shit was scary.
So you
And then,
discovered the name before you had these nightmares?
yes, I discovered the
Or I wouldn't even
name.
call them nightmares. You believe they happened. So these are more spiritual
Vivid.
experiences.
The same night I said the name out loud, found the name and said it out loud is when that thing happened.
That's when you started getting attacked.
Yes, that's when that happened. As soon as those two beings came to the bedroom, as soon as they left, then I was just getting hounded.
Do you feel like they're like, what the heck, man? How did you know this name? Why are you saying that?
Yeah, yeah. And I think that's where it got hounded. And then
You got their
because
attention.
I think I did. And then it took me a long time to be able to say the name in the spirit world. And
So
it
if
was
you
just,
were to recommend someone else to be able to go down that path and try to discover this themselves, what what would be your recommendation? How could I go and without you telling me this be able to discover it? You said you looked it up afterwards and other people have found this name.
not other people have, but it's written. Like, I don't think people say it, but it's written somewhere, and it's not written the way you would say it, if that's making sense. Like, it's
Not
the
really.
action is skewed.
So you're saying that there's a written name. So let's say it's Jesus or Yahweh or something
Yeah,
like that.
something like that.
And then you're
So,
saying, well, that's great that you wrote it down, but that's not how it's pronounced. Is that what you're saying?
yeah, yes,
And then this is how it's pronounced, and this is what unlocks something for you.
yeah,
Is
yeah,
that correct?
Yes. And I think the best way to get there is, I think, I think the spirituality is already there in all the scriptures. All we need is not blind faith anymore. There's logic. You need logic to guide you in those ways. When you ask those questions, you're always going to find the answers in the right way. And that's one of the things that is being deprived from a lot of people who are looking. Because when people start looking, they start to ask questions, but then
Do
they're
you
blocked.
think that there's an important role for faith? Do you think that it's maybe not by faith alone, but also by logic, or is it just faith is useless, so you should just go by logic? Or is it the
Faith,
other way around?
faith is useless. You should go by logic. You go by logic with the scriptures. You believe you uphold that logic to your being, because the scripture becomes logical when you put more logic to it.
How do you put logic to things that are illogical, like this experience you had? It's not a whole lot of logic where you have a being with two heads appearing in front of you and you walk to the next room and a whole bunch of demons appear from the floor. That's not a logical experience.
Great question.
And you're going on that by faith. You have
No,
faith that this is a real experience.
because that is not where my faith standpoint is. Because
But you have
it's
faith in the experience, is what I'm saying. Maybe not in other things beyond it. You believe that happened, right? You
I
believe
wouldn't
something
say I
something
believe it.
happened.
Something happened, but it's not something that I'll say I believed in. But it's also telling of my, because I put it as a concept of conflict, right? Maybe my mind is having a conflict between what is right and wrong. And the spiritual entities, right? As like, okay, he's found his right. Now let's disturb him and bring him back to his wrong, right? Or bring him back to the ignorance that he had before. Because that is done to make sure that you can still stay stuck in that concept of faith. Because at the end of it, with those spiritual things, it's not for you. Those are not for you to believe in or to have faith in.
I
The
read a
faith is in.
theory that
Mhm.
Yahweh is actually the written word for the way humans breathe. So when you come into this world, you say, and when you leave the world, your last breath is also. So it's a breath, and that breath is both recognition of God. Is that maybe something similar?
It could be similar, very much. Well, it's not. It's very more boom. It has an oomph to it.
Okay.
But like I said, right? It's like you said. That was a great analogy, right? You breathe in and out, right? To represent your first coming in. Even when you're going to sleep, you still do it, right? And everything you do is an internal practice, right? And to me, that's what I see spirituality being. And logic is the best way for us to find an internal meaning, because it's good to ask ourselves those questions. It is good to question the system that is around us, trying to guide us into whatever concept that they believe in,
I have a
right?
hard time putting so much faith, for lack of a better term, I have a hard time putting so much faith in logic because I see so many illogical things in this world.
Yes, but that's also logic,
How so?
right? Because without logic, you wouldn't find it illogical.
I don't find it logical to be a meat bag that disintegrates in an infinite universe. I feel it more logical to be some sort of impenetrable creature that could just last forever and experience things in infinity.
Okay. Okay, so what makes you not know that that could be also blind faith? Because you haven't seen it, right? It's also taught to you. It's everything that we live in comes from that foundation of faith. When it comes to science, that We are educated on the material world of things. And when it comes to religion,
But it
at the
sounds
end
like
of
you're
it,
building a case for faith now.
but at the end of it, yes, I am, because it's a faith foundation of faith that makes you question things, right? The foundation will bring questions, and then the faith is what stops those questions. Like on the science aspect, the science aspect starts with faith, the Big Bang, right?
Yes. There's a lot of
That,
magic that happens for science to be able to
yes,
start.
to start. So it's a big faith. And even after that, everything we experience outside of this earth is also faith based. We haven't gone up there, right? So,
Yeah, I forget who what one scientist, I forget who it was, who's saying in order for science to be accurate, you have to believe in at least two miracles.
yes. And it's the same thing in religion. In order for religion to happen, you have to believe in two miracles, right? So, when you look at it from that perspective, if it's a conspiracy, then those powers that be have created a best way to make sure that logic doesn't contain itself, even in a concept that is so-called logical and in a concept that is so-called faith-based, because they're all the same. But they use discoverable material things to then validate that concept of faith. And it's the same thing in the thing where they use miracle that might happen to you. Maybe you found like you got a new job that you didn't think, and then because you prayed last night, it worked, right? It's a interesting component that is brought up that makes us question both.
So
If somebody's
in your mind, in this kind of, I feel like you're sliding a bit towards determinism, where things are determined, and you're an observer, observing, making the choice to observe which path or not. So I feel like if you're watching a movie and you're praying that the character turns right instead of left, the character is already decided because we've already made the movie whether or not he goes right or left. And when you sit here and yell at the screen, turn right, and the character does turn right, that affirms that your belief that you had something to do with that you made the character with your shouting or beliefs turn right. Meanwhile, the character was always going to turn right. But if you
that's a
yelled
great.
turn left, the
Mhm.
character was still going to turn right. So
See,
now all of a
that's a
sudden
very.
you're at a point where you feel that it doesn't work now because it doesn't align with what you're yelling at the screen.
But the interesting part of it is that the determinism is not based on that aspect at all, because from that standpoint is looking at external factors to validate your internal,
Right.
right? So the whole component comes from stripping everything external, because in the concept of religion we have now, in the concept of science we have now, is all external factors to validate your internal,
That's a brilliant insight.
right? So the concept of faith, the concept of logic that we have to build is external, because even when I said use logic, you were coming from an external perspective. Like, hey, you saw these things happen to you on an external level.
Yes.
Is that what brought you that faith to believe in an internal aspect? Or maybe that happened because I believed in my internal, and externals found that to be a point of validation,
Yes.
whether positive or negative, right? And it could be the same concept with logic, which is science, right? If you look through your internal and then found out that through me, I have systems that the body, most humans don't understand about the body, right? And with those systems, if we use that to explain the universe, then maybe the universe might not start making sense anymore, right? So those are a lot of things that we are educated to think about. We are educated to look at external validations, either in religion or in faith. Like I remember, like I said, the one time is will people do good if they knew they were going to hell? Right? Because that external validation is when I'm out of this world, I'm going to heaven. So I'm going to make sure I do that so that I'm validated to get there. Right? So those are some of the concepts that we look at that we hardly foresee to make sure that what we're looking at makes sense, if that's making sense.
It's making sense. I believe what you're saying is the difference between the external and the internal is a lot of people have an internal hell they're going through. They live it. A lot of people have an internal heaven that they're going through. They live it. And these concepts are based on external things when really the internal could just be a choice. It could be their experience that they could just manifest that internally. Maybe not externally, but you could definitely manifest your own internal hell or heaven.
Yes.
Is that what you're saying?
Yes. And with that concept, you can and with logic, you can manifest that importance of understanding your true being. And when that true being becomes a reality, you might have external concept, and that doesn't matter if it's spiritual or physical.
Now,
Those
as
external,
someone who grew up as primarily the observer of the universe as you did, and not really it seemed like what you've been telling me is that you've been more a witness, less of a person who's actually poked reality and made changes. But now that you're an adult, it seems like you've been able to figure out how to harness your power into being able to manifest things. Do you feel like you now have more power to make things happen that you want to have happen? Do you feel like you have more autonomy in your life now than you did as a child? And how does that manifest things today for you?
that's a great question because it's that's interesting because I never really thought about that. But I keep saying that, but it's true. Um, when it comes to how do I even say it? When it comes to that component of manifesting or manifestation, for me, it's something that when it comes to the material, I've always said it is what it is, right? Not because I don't put in the effort. I work, I put in the effort, I do what I have to do when it comes my way, right? Because at the end of the day, I am still on this material world and I need to make sure that I work the earth to make sure it bears fruit, not just for me, but for other people as well.
Are you talking about, physical needs, or are you talking also about spiritual fruit?
Uh, Physical for now, because I haven't found the right time to go into spiritual fruits. But I think this is the opening right here. So who knows? Maybe that's also a segue into doing my spiritual aspect because I've always felt like I needed to do it. I always felt like there was a calling there to have that kind of message. Um, but when it comes to the spiritual, I've never felt it to be an external. I always felt like it wasn't a river flowing in me. It's like a river flowing out of me. And how pure I want that river to be is determined on me. And I can't sit back and not put in the inner work to make sure that what is flowing well enough that it'll gravitate people or to bring people towards me, not to gain any, not to receive, but to also purify or to also find meaning to their thing. It's
What do
like
you do to purify yourself to make sure that your river is pure?
you always question yourself. I think that's the best way to go about it. You always question because your body, your spirit finds the answer because it already knows. You're blessed with naivety, but it already knows. So when you're questioning, it'll find the answer for you. And that's one thing that's so powerful about our spirits.
I think it's also very powerful about questions.
Yes.
No
That's
matter
why you
what
don't
question you ask, you're going to get an answer.
Yes, that's why they don't want you to ask those questions. That's why faith is used to block those questions. Because as soon as you ask those questions in real life and somebody tells you have faith, you stop asking those questions in yourself. You block it away. And by the time you block it away, you've blocked your own self growth.
See, I use faith to block away things I think are negative or bad towards me. So, for example, when my kids tell me they're scared of evil, they're scared of darkness, I tell them they have to have faith that God's won. So I have faith in God's triumph over evil. That way, the evil no longer has power over me by me having to sit here and question whether or not it's going to have an effect on me. I just have faith that it's already won. It's already over. It's already defeated. So I use faith to block that part. So it's true what you're saying. Faith can block, but I think if you use faith at the right targets, you could do good with it.
You could do good. But then also, with that same question, right? You can, let's say your kids ask, hey, Dad, I'm scared of the dark. You can go, you know, God has blessed you with with so much that the dark is afraid of you. Not because of your might alone, but because of his blessing. And with time, you will come to understand why you are that powerful in his name or in his creation. And the reason why I use that analogy is because it kind of teaches in a way where it's like, God has given me a might too. Right? Because as soon as we say God has defeated our enemies, it makes us stay meek. Because then it makes the dark, right? It makes the dark feel that dominion, that when they come, this person will cower. They will cower in fear and pray to him. Yeah, he will come, but he's got to do that for 1,000,000 people, even though he's already put that seed in you.
So who gives you, or were you ever given power, or is that just your natural way? Are we just powerful, or was somebody or something bestow that power on us? Why does light so easily defeat dark? You have a candle in a room and all of a sudden you can see.
Great question. So I'll go for the dark and light analogy. One thing about darkness, and I think that's the thing that makes it that people get lied to a lot. Darkness is ever present. God was born in darkness, right? And then he said, let there be light. Not the other way around. God is neutral. He never picked a side. He's gray. And that's the interesting point to that is that there's a reason that he saw darkness as a point of when we get to reset. Not because it's evil, but because it's the fundamental point of creation. And powers that be sure do create that analogy to make sure that we don't get an understanding from why darkness is a thing. And not because light is so powerful, it's because darkness allows light. If you go into those rooms where they paint it all penta black and it's so black that even if you turn on a light, it absorbs all the light. Darkness can do that. But it's so ever willing to accept light. So if you think about it that way, you start to see that there is a mutual respect that darkness has for light, because darkness knows the importance of light. And that's why when God was born into darkness, and he said with his voice, which is everything around us that vibrates, let there be light, darkness allowed itself to open up. It's not like light came and took it up, because darkness is always going to be there. That's why even if it's the sun, you see shadow, you see darkness. Because darkness allows itself to be consumed.
It seems very much like an Eastern philosophy, a yin yang, the whole idea of contrast that the Buddha talks about.
Yes. Yes, because it's important to see it from that perspective. Because when you see it from there, you start to have a sense of appreciation for the darkness itself.
It's the spark of duality.
Yes.
At its core.
Yes. And there's a reason why we're educated to fear some things that we're being indoctrinated to fear.
What's that reason? Control?
Yes. Yes. Because without that control, humanity would people would say will fling into chaos, which is not the truth. But the control makes that fear possible.
Or the fear makes the control possible.
Yes. And then it's like a yin yang too.
Right.
So it's a very interesting perspective that I came to realize is the control aspect of it. And now it's making more sense, because you could tell the powers that be do some demonic stuff.
You believe in demons?
Yes. Those are the entities I was talking about. They're not powerful. They need PR. They're the best PR beings in the world. I'm being serious. They are. They have the best PR. Think about it. In religion, you're being told how powerful they are. In movies, you're being told how powerful they are. In folklore, you're being told how powerful they are. And this is centuries of them writing their PR. Because it's needed. That's the only way they feel a sense of power. They feel a sense of having dominion.
So is it they need you to believe in their power for their power to exist?
Yes. They need you to believe in it for it to exist. And that's what I'm saying. After that dream, that thing happened to me, and I was dreaming. And I got to a point, and then when I got to a point where I was able to say that name in a dream, I've never seen a being run that fast in my life.
Well, it's interesting because, even biblically, in the Christian belief, they say that, Jesus just says by the power of your belief, you could move a mountain. If a mustard seed had the power to believe, they could move a mountain. Mm-hmm. And also Jesus requires, well, not even a requirement. It's saying if you want to accept his gift, it's a belief. You believe in him, and then poof, it's done. So it's interesting you're saying about the belief, and even the opposite also has great power. So
because
there's something about us as humans that have this tremendous power that we wield called belief.
Yes, and it's not a power that, how do I even say? It's not a power that comes from them. It's from us cowering. Right? It's not a power that they came up with that is so powerful that it pushes us down. No. It's just a power that cowers you.
So do you believe the universe was created by a god? Do you believe it's always existed? Do you believe we're in the simulation? What is your theory or belief about what's going on, how we are existing here, what this is all about? Do you believe God, in the Bible, God created the world in 7 days, all that stuff, and the Christian belief, God created the world That way, in the scientific belief, there's a Big Bang. In a Buddhism belief, things just always have been and always will be. What is your take on it?
That's a great question. To me, I've always tried to not, because I don't know, and I've always tried to not look at it from that point of beginning. Because the reason why I don't want to look at it from the point of beginning is because, how do I put it? It's not a point of beginning for me, per se. When I'm like, as soon as I come onto this earth, it's not a point of beginning for me. And seeing that perspective of, okay, it was created because in 7 days God spoke into the earth, and then all of a sudden the world came into being. To be honest, it doesn't matter to me. It's not something that I realize would improve or disprove my spiritual growth in any way, right? And I think it's also a way of it's a point of systematic faith where it has to start with a point of faith, right? There's a reason why both ends of science and thing have that point of faith starting.
There again, we're at faith versus logic.
Yeah, right. You need clashing. You need a soccer match or a sports kind of clashing concept for people to pick one side or the other. Because if everything is gray, then it's hard to control people.
Very interesting.
But then
Yet the beings you saw brought up gray.
Yeah, gray. They were gray because, and it made sense to me. It wasn't a bright light. It wasn't darkness. And I, like, as soon as that happened, I started questioning things. I'm like, why is everything such a sporty rival concept? Why is it so sport-like? In Christian or in any religion, man, good and bad guys fight. Tell me there's no neutral spirit? Come on. Now, in law and science, what is it? Evolution, and then there's also there's some other ones. So it's like, it's designed in a way to make it sport-like because it's easier to control. One person picks one, another person picks one. And if you have, like, let's say if Christianity was the only religion, that would fuck things up because there'll be too many questions and people will, boom. So they're like, oh, shoot. Yeah, we might have a problem there. So let's create 10 more religions. Oh, yeah. Now someone is saying their religion is better than this person, even though they come from the same family tree. Because it's the best way to make faith be stronger because it's good versus bad is so sport-like. Sports, you don't need to have logic to support a team. You just want them to win. It has the same concept with everything.
Which sparks tribalism.
Yes. Because if it's so gray, there'll be way too many logical answers, and then you beat control.
Interesting.
So, and you could tell in all religion, the demons have the most power for some reason.
And you don't believe that's true at all?
Because, like, ever since I started doing that, ever since I had that, I don't even say belief, I had that truth. I haven't had a nightmare in so long. Like, it's been 4 years now.
That's incredible.
Yeah. And then even when I do, I hate to say this, but I'm kind of abusive in my dreams sometimes. Like, I remember
to yourself?
No, to the being. Because they'll try and scare, and then, like, I get mad and I start beating people, which is not good. But because of that, they don't come, which is sad. Because it used to be fun, but hey, I don't mind it. Then I was like, man, I'm aggressive in my dreams. So now I'm kind of laid back, I hope. But
well, it's good it's in your dreams and not in real life.
yeah, no. My dreams are way too, because like I so annoying. I remember one time I was dreaming and then there was this entity chasing, like, following me around, and then I got mad for some reason. So I went to a room, and then I saw him like peeking through like a glass window, And then it opened the door. It was like a deformed guy. And then it jumped on me. It sprang on me. And then I grabbed it by the waist to put it down. And I was about to hit it. And I could see it cowering in fear. And then I woke up and I was like, bruh, what the fuck? Why did I make that? And it was so deformed. Like, it was crazy. And it was like, I'd never seen fear like that. And I was like, whoa, buddy, relax. I was
That's
telling
amazing.
myself to relax. Yeah, so the reason why I say that is that's why they push the PR in every concept. Anything you go into. Demons are powerful. Religion, demons are the most powerful. What's the name? Uh, Anything you look into, folklore, before even creation, before civilization, demons are the most powerful thing. They kept that PR going. And now they know people don't read, so they put it in movies. Right? So
But you know it's not the truth.
it's not the truth. Because it's so important for them to have that one drop of hope. It's like they're cracked. It's all they got. So they're gonna work hard to keep that going.
That's incredible.
Yeah. They're gonna work hard to keep that going because that's all they have. They're nobody in the spirit world. They're bums in the spirit world. They're deformed. They don't have their spiritual identity anymore. Even not a physical identity, like a human. They're deformed. Right? Like to a point where I'm sure they wouldn't be able to look at themselves in the mirror. Nobody would.
Yeah.
Like if you knew what you looked like before and then you became this and you can't even come back to the earth, you'd be jealous of the people who have the luxury or the spirits who have the luxury to come back here. You would be. And you try to terrorize them and how do I mean say it? In the every chance you get, you try to terrorize because you're jealous. You lost everything.
That makes a lot of sense.
It is. They lost everything, so they're jealous. And the only way they can do it is they promise a few people, hey, we have knowledge, we'll give you wealth, blah blah blah. Do all the craziest thing because when you're done, you're gonna come join us anyway. So do it. Oh, kids. Now I'm going conspiracy, but I know it's true. Kids, in you, it's okay. Show them terror. Make them fear us. So it's one of the biggest, and I think it's so well done because to have PR like that, it's crazy. It's crazy. And there's structures behind it that makes other people go for it. And it's been done for centuries. From the Egyptians back then, they were doing that. They had a sense of superiority as well. Anybody that goes to that concept always feels superior to others, you know? And it's not just a thing, it's like people do it through religion, people do it through their teachings, and that superiority is there. And it's not because the demons want you to be doing good, but they know you can terrorize your people. And when they have that fear, we can terrorize them too. Because that's the only way we get power. Right? And also, how do we make sure that humanity doesn't revolt and gain their power over us anymore? Oh, yeah. Let's make sure we infiltrate religion too. Tell them, oh, don't do anything. God got you. God will be all your protector. He'll protect you every day. Even though he gave you the muscles to fight these people. Because he knows they can't kill you. He knows that. He knows they can't cause you no harm. They can scare the shit out of you. But he knows they can't touch you. And he knows it's not even possible because they're so weak. But the little fear that they have from you giving it to them, oh man, I would eat it up too if I knew I was that weak. I would eat that up. You would too if you felt like you got nothing else but that. You would take that and take it as much as you can, just so you can feel a sense of power.
Does that make
Yeah.
you hopeful or fearful for the future?
Um, I think I think it's gonna be a good future for everybody involved. Not hopeful per se, but I know it's gonna be a good future because at the end of it, it just takes people getting to that point of understanding for it all to crumble, and it will get there. The only reason we're in this space right now is because the structure in which they built the material aspects, making sure that everybody is so conceived in the material world, you know, is something that I think has gotten us to this point. And when that goes away, which I see slowly moving away, I think humanity will get back to being where it's supposed to be, and all these people who have been bamboozled by these low entities, they will realize that, bruv, they were lied to,
Yeah.
and it's sad because they don't know no better. Nobody knows no better. You you're being told, you see as soon as you get wealth, you have people kissing your ass, you have all these things, and it gets to you. You're human. And that's something I always pray about. It's like, I don't know where I'm going, but if I do get somewhere, I hope my humanity doesn't get to me because I still have to know that I'm human. My material weakness is different, so we cannot be all knowing or all uh egoed because we think we know something. And that's where it is because a lot of humans fell for that for millennium.
Well, listen, Andrew, this is an amazing conversation.
Yeah, man. We've been talking
I
for a long time.
I gotta have you on again. I've got so many more questions for you.
No problem. Write it down. I'll be happy to talk. I'll be happy to
I
talk.
really
I really
appreciate you doing this. Um, do you have any places where people can reach you or find you? Have like a Twitter or X or YouTube? Do you have any social
uh
medias like that?
no, I haven't started. Maybe I should start
I
something
think you
like
should
that. I
start some
don't know.
stuff like that. So if people are
Yeah.
interested in talking to you more about this stuff and
I'll be happy to. Like even if people want to just have a one-on-one talk, I think it'll be good for them too.
yeah,
You know. Yeah.
I've learned a lot today for sure. I think you have a
I'm
lot of
so glad.
powerful
I'm so
insights.
glad. Yeah, I'm so glad because it's something I've learned, and I could tell that the spirits want me to go and spread it out there.
Yeah.
So when you said that, I was like, you know what? Yeah, maybe this is when, because my goal was maybe the spirits wanted me to get out there a little bit more, and then maybe I'll have more like saying, and then I'll just spill it out to the world. But I didn't know. But I think this is the best way to start. So
It's perfect. Well, thank you
yeah,
so much. Stick around for a little bit so that the video finishes uploading. But I,
no problem.
thank you so much for doing this. I appreciate it.
Oh no, thank you, because it gave me an outlet. Like I've had this for years, and yeah, and I'm glad I was able to, and I'm glad you were able to have an open mind as well.
Nah,
You know,
it's
that's
what you
important.
said makes a lot of sense. So,
Yeah, yeah, man. Don't let them think because the PR has gone too far.
yeah,
I wish I had PR like that. I don't even know what PR would be for, but
for
yeah, no,
sure.
it's so powerfully smart. It's one of the smartest things they've been able to do, and for me, it's like it's way too smart. It's so smart from folklore to giving people deals and all this thing, make it seem like they're the source of material wealth. It's so intricate, and I think the reason why they're here is not because uh God allowed them to be. No, it's because God knows what we're capable of. He just like that's the aspect of the free will that I talked about. He could just scream through clouds and say, hey, they're not real. You guys are powerful. But no, because he knows that we chose to come here, we chose to get the mind wiped off, and it's our duty to make sure that we educate the next spirits coming in as we filter through on what's right and what's wrong and how powerful we are as spirits.
Makes a lot of sense to me.
So glad.
All right. Thank you so much. See you
Thank
guys.
you. See ya.